Henrick, playing King Henry.
Okay. Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Kirshner, playing Mistress Quickly.
Okay. Angus?
Hi, Angus Hepburn, playing Corporal Nim, Captain Jimmy, Thomas Erpingham, and the Earl of Salisbury.
Okay. Mike?
Mike, playing the Dauphin.
Okay. Ian?
I'm Ian. I'm playing the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Derek?
I'm Derek Tarson, and I'm playing a lot of different roles, but including Mountjoy, messengers, ambassadors, heralds, and others.
Ben?
I'm Bennett Pology. I'm playing King Charles, Mac Morris, and William.
Okay. Marie Christine?
I am Marie Christine, and I'm playing Catherine, Princess of France, and also the chorus with Anna.
Okay. And David?
I'm David Palmer Brown, and I'm playing Pistol.
Okay. And Vicky?
Vicky, gentlewoman Alice.
Okay. Sean?
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm playing like half the dukes and earls and lords in this play, but including Gloucester and York.
Hey, Mercutio.
Okay. And Roger?
Hello all, I'm Roger. I'm playing the Bishop of Ely, Cambridge, York, and Bates, and one other character later.
Okay. Oscar?
I'm Oscar Gray, and I'm playing Boy and Alexander Court.
Okay. And David in Philadelphia?
Hi, David Bauer, and I'm playing the... Oh, hang on. Am I muted?
No, you're not muted now.
Can you not? Oh, good. Hi, David Bauer, and I'm playing the Constable of France.
Okay. So, does everybody understand the cuts, or do I need to just run through them? Not so much the cuts, but the scene changes.
If you don't
or
mind,
do I just need to
please.
run through them?
If you don't mind, please.
Okay. So the first half of the play is as written, and we take a short break about 10 minutes after Act 3, Scene 6, which is on page 73 of the script. I have asked Paul not to read any of the stage directions, as we sometimes do, and I've also asked him not to go into speaker view at any time, but to stick with gallery view. Because I personally find it quite disconcerting whether I'm reading or watching, but we'll see how that goes. The changes in the script are as follows. After the break, we start immediately before Act 3, Scene 7 with the Act 4 chorus on page 81, and then go back into Act 3, Scene 7, starting on page 73, which then follows immediately with Act 4, Scene 1 on page 83. In other words, you go straight from Act 3 into Act 4 without the chorus. In Act 5, we do pretty much the same thing. We go from Act 4, Scene 8, right on page 128, cut straight to Act 5, Scene 1 on page 130, and then we go back to do the Act 5 chorus on page 128 before starting the big final scene, Act 5, Scene 2 on page 134. Is that all as clear as mud? Okay. And then we have a couple of line changes, which is it involves Oscar and Ben in Act 4, Scene 1. I won't go into any details from that. And in point of fact, Paula is joining us as Queen Isabel of France. There is no character in this reading called the Duke of Burgundy. So if anybody, and I think it's only Henrick, who actually mentions the name Duke or Burgundy or Duke of Burgundy, then we simply don't say the line. The final change is at the very end, where Anna and Marie Christine will share the epilogue between them, but by then everybody will probably be asleep, especially those in Europe, which leads me to the last point, which is for those of you, especially those gentlemen in Europe, that's Oscar, Ian, and Angus in Ireland, England, and France. Please do not feel that you have to stay for the entire play. And when you are ready to go and eat your dinners or go to bed, then please feel free to leave us, and we won't take it personally after you have finished your last line. For those of you in California, you can stay longer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. So, Paul, I don't know whether we want to begin at this point. Does anybody have any questions before we start?
Yes.
Go.
Stephen, it's Vicky.
Yes, Vicky.
Can I'm going to wait to turn my video on until most of the Catherine King scene is done, since I don't really speak until page 146. Okay.
No, I think no, absolutely. Can you please turn your video on?
I will do.
Because you are present in the scene, and
As
that's
I
part
said,
of the.
it's your show. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you are there because you have to chaperone them, even
no,
virtually.
No, we'll virtually chaperone.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's just a reminder in terms of the way we do that when you're in the scene, that you have your video on and your audio on, and then when you're out of the scene, you turn your video off. So in gallery view, we just see the people who are in the scene. And so to remember, when your video's on, you're still in the scene and you should be paying attention. So and enjoy and have fun with the text. And I won't read any stage directions. And,
okay, so, oh God.
Oh, for a muse, a fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, and gentles all, the flat unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon! Since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us, ciphers to this great account, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined 2 mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man, and make imaginary presence. Think when we talk of horses, that you see them, printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings. Carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus, to this history, who prologue like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
My lord, I'll tell you that self-bill is urged, which in the 11th year of the last king's reign was like and had indeed against us passed, that in the scambling and unquiet time did push it out of further question.
But how, my lord, shall we resist it now?
It must be thought on. If it pass against us, we lose the better half of our possession. For all the temporal lands which men devout by testament have given to the church, would they strip from us, being valued thus as much as would maintain to the king's honour full 15 earls and 1,500 knights, 6,200 good squires, and to relief of Lazars and weak age of indigent faint souls past corporal toil, 100 almshouses right well supplied, and to the coffers of the king beside, £1,000 by the year. Thus runs the bill.
That would drink deep.
would drink the cup and all.
But what prevention?
The king is full of grace and fair regard,
And a true lover of the Holy Church.
the courses of his youth promised it not. The breath no sooner left his father's body, but that his wildness, mortified in him, seemed to die too. Yea, at that very moment consideration like an angel came, and whipped the offending Adam out of him, leaving his body as a paradise, to envelop and contain celestial spirits. Never was such a sudden scholar made, never came reformation in a flood, with such a heady current scouring faults, nor never hydra-headed wilfulness so soon did lose his seat, and all at once, as in this king.
We are blessed in the change.
Hear him but reason in divinity, and all admiring, with an inward wish you would desire the king were made a prelate. Hear him debate of commonwealth affairs, you would say it hath been all in all his study. List his discourse of war, and you shall hear a fearful battle rendered you in music. Turn him to any cause of policy, the Gordian knot of it he will unloose, familiar as his garter. But when he speaks, the air, a chartered libertine, is still, and the mute wonder lurketh in men's ears, to steal his sweet and honeyed sentences, so that the art and practic part of life must be the mistress to this theoric, which is a wonder how his grace should glean it, since his addiction was to courses vain, his companies unlettered, rude and shallow, his hours filled up with riots, banquets, sports, and never noted in him any study, any retirement, any sequestration from open halts and popularity.
The strawberry grows underneath the nettle, and wholesome berries thrive and ripen best, neighbored by fruit of baser quality. And so the prince obscured his contemplation under the veil of wildness, which no doubt grew like the summer grass, fastest by night, unseen by crescive in his faculty.
It must be so, for miracles are ceased, and therefore we must needs admit the means how things are perfected.
But my good lord, how now for mitigation of this bill, urged by the commons? Does his majesty incline it to it or no?
He seems indifferent, or rather swaying more upon our part than cherishing the exhibitors against us. For I have made an offer to his majesty upon our spiritual convocation, and in regard of causes now in hand which I have opened to his majesty at large as touching France, to give as great a sum than ever at one time the clergy yet did to his predecessors part withal.
How did this offer seem received, my lord?
With good acceptance of his majesty, save that there was not time enough to hear, as I perceived his grace would fain have done, the several and unhidden passages of his true titles to some certain dukedoms, and generally to the crown and seat of France, derived from Edward his great-grandfather.
What was the impediment that broke this off?
The French ambassador upon that instance craved audience, and the hour, I think, is come to give him hearing. Is it 4 o'clock?
It is.
Then go we in to know his embassy, which I could with a ready guess declare before the Frenchmen speak a word of it.
I'll wait upon you, and I long to hear it.
Where is my gracious lord of Canterbury?
Not here in present.
Not here in present.
Send for him, good uncle.
Shall we call in the ambassador, my liege?
Not yet, my cousin. We will be resolved before we hear him of some things of weight that task our thoughts concerning us in France.
God and his angels guard your sacred throne and make you long become it.
Sure, we thank you. My learned lord, we pray you to proceed and justly and religiously unfold. Why the Sawczak that they have in France, or should not bear us in our claim, and God forbid, my dear and faithful lord, that you should fashion rest or bow your reading or nicely charge your understanding soul with opening titles miscreate whose right suits not in native colours with the truth. For God doth know how many now in hell shall drop their blood in approbation of what your reverence shall incite us to. Therefore take heed how you improve our person, how you awake our sleeping sword of war. We charge you in the name of God, take heed. For never two such kingdoms did contend without much fall of blood, whose guillotine drops are every one a woe, a sore complaint against him, whose wrongs gives edges unto the swords, that makes such waste in brief mortality. Under the conjuration speak, my lord, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart that what you speak, it is in your conscience washed, as pure as sin with baptism.
Then hear me, gracious sovereign, and you, peers, that owe yourselves your lives and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness' claim to France, but this which they produce from Pharamond. In terram salicam mulieres ne succidant. No woman shall succeed in Salic land, which Salic land the French unjustly gloze to be the realm of France, and Pharamond the founder of this law and female bar. Yet their own authors faithfully acclaim that the Salic land is in Germany, between the floods of Saale and of Elve, where Charles the Great, having subdued the Saxons, there left behind and settled certain French, who, holding in disdain the German women for some dishonest manners of their life, established then this law, to wit, no female should be inheritrix in Salic land, which Salic, as I said, twixt Elve and Saale, is at this day in Germany called Meissen. Then doth it well appear the Salic law was not devised for the realm of France, nor did the French possess the Salic land until 421 years after defunction of King Pharamond, idly supposed the founder of this law, who died within the year of our redemption 426. And Charles the Great subdued the Saxons and did seat the French beyond the river Saale in the year 805. Besides, their writers say King Pepin, which deposed Childeric, did as heir general, being descended of Blithild, which was daughter to King Clothar, make claim and title to the crown of France. Hugh Capet also, who usurped the crown of Charles the Duke of Lorraine, sole heir male of the true line and stock of Charles the Great, to find his title with some shows of truth, though in pure truth it was corrupt and naught, conveyed himself as the heir to the Lady Lingar, daughter to Charlemagne, who was the son to Louis the Emperor and Louis the son of Charles the Great. Also, King Louis X, who was sole heir to the usurper Cabet, could not keep quiet in his conscience wearing the crown of France, till satisfied that fair Queen Isabel, his grandmother, was lineal of the Lady Ermengar, daughter to Charles, the foresaid Duke of Lorraine, that by the which marriage the line of Charles the Great was reunited to the crown of France, so that as clear as is the summer's sun, King Pepin's title and Hugh Capet's claim, King Louis his satisfaction, all appear to hold in right and title of the female. So do the kings of France unto this day. Howbeit they would uphold this Salic law to bar your highness claiming from the female, but rather choose to hide them in a net than amply to embar their crooked titles usurped from you and your progenitors.
May I with right and conscience make this claim?
The sin upon my head, dread sovereign, for it is in the book of Numbers it is writ, the man dies, let the inheritance descend unto the daughter. Gracious Lord, stand for your own, unwind your bloody flag, look back into your mighty ancestors. Go, my dread lord, to your great-grandsire's tomb from whom you may claim, invoke his warlike spirit, and your great uncle's Edward the Black Prince, who on the French ground played a tragedy, making defence of the full power of France, whilst his most mighty father on a hill stood smiling to behold his lion's whelp forage in blood of French nobility. O noble English that could entertain with half their forces the full pride of France, and let another half stand laughing by, all out of work and cold for action.
Bishop, you're muted.
Awake remembrance of these valiant dead, and with your puissant arm renew their feats. You are their heir, you sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renowned them runs in your veins, and my thrice puissant liege is in the very May thorn of his youth, ripe for exploits and mighty enterprises.
Your brother kings and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood.
They know your grace hath cause and means and might, so hath your highness. Never king of England had nobles richer and more loyal subjects whose hearts have left their bodies here in England and lie pavilioned in the fields of France.
Oh, let their bodies follow, my dear liege, with bloods and sword and fire to win your right. In aid whereof we of the spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum as never did the clergy at one time bring in to any of your ancestors.
We must not only invade the French, but lay down our proportions to defend against the Scot, who will make road upon us with all advantages.
They of those marches, gracious sovereign, shall be a wall sufficient to defend our inland from the pilfering borderers.
We do not mean the coursing snatchers only, but fear the main intendment of the Scot, who hath been slightly giddy neighbour to us. For you shall read that my grandfather never went with his forces into France, and that the Scot, on his unfurnished kingdom, came pouring like the tide into a breach, with ample and brim fullness of his force, galling the gleaned land with hot essays, girding with grievous siege castles and towns, that England being empty of defence hath shook and trembled all the ill neighbourhood.
She hath been then more feared than harmed, my liege, for hear her but exampled by herself. When all her chivalry hath been in France, and she a mourning widow of her nobles, she hath herself not only well defended, but taken and impounded as a stray the King of Scots, whom she did send to France to fill King Edward's fame with prisoner kings and make their chronicle as rich with praise as is the Owls and bottom of the sea with sunken wrack and sunless treasuries.
But there's a saying very old and true, that you will France win, then with Scotland first begin. For once the England being in prey to her unguarded nest, the weasel, Scot, comes sneaking and so sucks her princely eggs, playing the mouse in absence of the cat to tame and havoc more than she can eat.
It follows then the cat must stay at home, yet that is but a crushed necessity, since we have locks to safeguard necessaries, and pretty traps to catch the petty thieves, while that the armed hand doth fight abroad, the advised head defends itself at home. For government, though high and lower put into parts, doth keep in one consent, congrene in a full and natural close, like music.
Therefore doth heaven divide the state of man in divers functions, setting endeavour in continual motion, to which is fixed as an aim or but obedience. For so work the honeybees, creatures that by a rule in nature teach the act of order to a peopled kingdom. They have a king and officers of sorts, where some like magistrates correct at home, others like merchants vent a trade abroad, others like soldiers armed in their stings make boot upon the summer's velvet buds, which pillage they with merry march bring home to the tent royal of their emperor, who busied in his majesty's surveys the singing nations, building roofs of gold, the civil citizens kneading up the honey, the poor mechanic porters crowding in their heavy burthens at his narrow gate, the sad-eyed justice with his surly hum, delivering o'er to executors pale the lazy, yawning drone. I this infer, that many things having full reference to one consent may work contrariously, as many arrows loosed several ways come to one mark, as many ways meet in one town, as many streams meet in one salt sea, as many lines close in the dial's centre, so may 1,000 actions once afoot, and in one purpose, and be all well borne without defeat. Therefore to France, my liege, divide your happy England into four, whereof Take you 1/4 into France, and you shall withal make all Gallia shake. And if we thrice such powers left at home cannot defend our own doors from the dog, let us be worried, and our nation lose the name of hardiness and policy.
All in the messengers sent from the Dauphin. Now are we well resolved, and by God's help and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it to our awe, or break it all to pieces. For there will sit, ruling in large and ample empire, all France and all her almost kingly dukedoms, or lay these bones in an unworthy urn, tombless with no remembrance over them. Either your history shall with full mouth speak freely of our acts, or else our grave, like Turkish mute, shall have tongueless mouth, not worshipped with a waxen epitaph. Now, are we all prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin Dauphin? For we hear your greetings is from him, not from the king.
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge, or shall we sparingly show you far off the Dolphins' meeting and our embassy?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king, unto whose grace our passion is as subject as our wretches fettered in our prisons. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind.
Thus then in few, your highness, lately sending into France, did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III, in answer of which claim the prince our master says that you savor too much of your youth, and bid you be advised there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard won. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you meter for your spirit, this ton of treasure, and in lieu of this desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dolphin speaks.
What treasure, uncle?
Tennis balls, my liege.
We are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have matched our rackets to these balls, we will in France, by God's grace, play a set shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him he hath made a match with such a wrangler, that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases, and we understand him well, how he comes over us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seed of England, and therefore living hence did give ourselves to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common that men are merriest when they are far from home. But tell the Dauphin, I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty and plodded like a man for working days, but I will rise there with so full a glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France, yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us. And tell the pleasant prince, this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with him. For many 1,000 widows shall this his mock out of their dear husbands, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet ungotten and unborn that shall have cause to curse the Dauphin's scorn. But this lies all within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you the Dauphin I am coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace. And tell the Dauphin his jest will savour but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them with safe conduct, fare you well.
This was a merry message.
We hope to make the sender blush at it. Therefore, my lords, omit no happy hour that may give furtherance to our expedition. For we have now no thought on us but France, save those to God that run before our business. Therefore, let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, and all things thought upon that may with reasonable swiftness add more feathers to our wings, for God before will chide this Dauphin at his father's door. Therefore, let every man now task his thought, that this fair action may on foot be brought.
Now all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in the wardrobe lies. Now thrive the armorers, and honor's thought reigns solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the mirror of all Christian kings with winged heels as English Mercuries. For now sits expectation in the air, and hides a sword from hilts unto the point, with crowns imperial, crowns and coronets promised to Harry and his followers. The French, advised by good intelligence of this most dreadful preparation, shake in their fear, and with pale policy seek to divert the English purposes. O England, model to thy inward greatness, like little body with a mighty heart, what mightst thou do that honor would thee do, were all thy children kind and natural? But see, thy fault France hath in thee found out, a nest of hollow bosoms, which he fills with treacherous crowns, and 3 corrupted men, one Richard Earl of Cambridge, and the second Henry Lord Scroop of Masham, and the third Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have for the guilt of France, oh, guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with fearful France. And by their hands this grace of kings must die, if hell and treason hold their promises, ere he take ship for France and in Southampton. Linger your patience on, and we'll digest the abuse of distance, force of play. The sum is paid, the traitors are agreed, the king is set from London, and the seed is now transported, gentles, to Southampton. There is the playhouse now, there must you sit, and thence to France, shall we convey you safe, and bring you back, charming the narrow seas to give you gentle pass. For if we may, we'll not offend one stomach with our play. But till the king come forth, and not till then, unto Southampton do we shift our scene.
Well met, Corporal Nim.
Good morrow, Lieutenant Bardolfe.
What, our ancient pistol and you friends yet?
For my part, I care not. And you, friend, I say little, but when time shall serve, there shall be smiles, but that shall be as it may. I dare not fight, but I will wink and hold out mine yawn. It's a simple one, but what though, eh? It will toast cheese, and it will endure cold as another man's sword will. There's an end.
I will bestow a breakfast to make you friends, and we'll be all 3 sworn brothers to France. Let it be so, good Corporal Nim.
Faith, I will live so long as I may, that's the certainty of it. And when I cannot live any longer, I will do as I may. That's my rest. That's the rendezvous of it.
It is certain, Corporal, that he is married to Nell quickly, and certainly she did you wrong, for you were troth plight to her.
Oh, I cannot tell. Things must be as they may. Men may sleep, and they may have their throats about them at that time. And some say knives have edges. It must be as it may. Though Patience be a tired name, yet she will plod. There must be conclusions. Well, I cannot tell.
Here comes ancient pistol and his wife. Good Corporal, be patient here. How now, mine host pistol?
Base stag, cost thou me, host? And now by this hand I swear I scorn thee. Now shall nor shall my Nell keep lodgers.
No, by my troth, not long, for we cannot lodge and board 12 or 14 gentlewomen that live honestly by the prick of their needles. But it will be thought we keep a bawdy house straight. Oh, well-a-day, lady, if ye be not hewn now, we shall see wilful adultery and murder committed.
Good Lieutenant, good Corporal, offer nothing here.
Pish!
Pish for thee, Iceland dog, thou prick-eared cur of Iceland.
Oh, good Corporal Nim, show thy valor and put up your sword.
Will you shog off? I would have you soulless.
Solace, egregious dog! Oh, viper vile, the solace in thy most marvelous face, the solace in thy teeth, and in thy throat, and in thy hateful lungs, yea, in thy body, and, which is worse, within thy nasty mouth. I do retort the solace in thy bowels, for I can take, and pistol cock is up, and flashing fire will follow.
But I am not Barberson. You cannot conjure me. I have an humour to knock you indifferently well. If you grow foul with me, pistol, I will scare you with my rapier as I may in fair terms. If you would walk off, I would prick your guts a little in good terms, as I may. That's the humour of it.
Oh, braggart vile, and damned furious wight! Now the grave doth gape, and doting death is near. Therefore exhale.
Hear me what I say. He that strikes the first stroke, I'll run him up to the hilts, as I am a soldier.
And oaths of mickle might and fury shall abate. Give me thy fist, thy forefoot give to me. Thy spears are most tall.
I will cut thy throat one time or other in fair terms. That's the humour of it.
The couper la gorge, that is the word. I thee defy again, O hound of Crete. Think'st thou my spouse to get? No, to the spittle go, and from the powdering tub of infamy fetch forth the lazard kite of Cressid's kind. All tear she by name, and her espouse. I have, and I will hold the quondam quickly for the only she. And Pauca, oh, that's enough. Go to.
Mine host, pistol, you must come to my master and your hostess. He is very sick and would to bed. Good Bardolfe, put thy face between his sheets, and do the office of warming him. Faith, he's very ill.
Away, you rogue.
By my troth, he'll yield the crow a pudding one of these days. The king has killed his heart. Good husband, come home presently.
Come. Shall I make you two friends? We must to France together. Why the devil should we keep knives to cut one another's throats?
Let floods o'erswell and fiends for food howl on.
You'll pay me the 8 shillings I won of you at betting.
Base is the slave that pays.
Now, that now I will have. That's the humour of it.
As manhood shall compound, push home.
By this sword, he that makes the first thrust, I'll kill him. By this sword I will.
Sword is an oath, and oaths must have their course.
Corporal Nim, and thou wilt be friends, and thou wilt not, why then be enemies with me too. Prithee, put up.
A noble shalt thou have, and present pay, and liquor likewise I will give to thee, and friendship shall combine, and brotherhood. I'll live by Nim, and Nim shall live by me. Is not this just? For I shall settle thee into the camp, and profits will accrue. Give me thy hand.
I shall have my noble.
In cash most justly paid.
Well, then the humour out.
As ever you come of women, come in quickly to Sir John. A poor heart, he is so shaked of a burning quotidian tertian, and it is most lamentable to behold sweet men. Come to him.
The king has run bad humours on the night. That's the even o't.
Nim now has spoke the right. His heart is fractured and corroborate.
The king is a good king, but it must be as it may. He passes some humours and careerers.
Let us condole the night, for lambkins we will live.
Oh, Grace is bold to trust these traitors.
They shall be apprehended by and by.
How small and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiance in their bosom sat crowned with faith and constant loyalty.
The king hath note of all they intend by interception, which they dream not of.
Nay, but the man that was his bedfellow, whom he hath dulled and cloyed with gracious favours, that he should, for a foreign purse, so sell his sovereign's life to death and treachery.
Now sits the wind fair, and we will aboard. My lord Cambridge, and my kind lord of Masham, and you, my gentle knight, give me your thoughts. Think you not the powers we bear with us will cut their passage to the force of France, doing the execution and the act for which we have in head assembled them?
No doubt, my liege, if each man do his best.
I doubt not that. Since we are well persuaded, we carry not a heart with us from hence, that grows not in a fair consent with ours, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us.
Well, never was monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government.
True. Those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey, and do serve you with hearts creative duty and of zeal.
Therefore have great cause of thankfulness, and shall forget the office of our hands sooner than quittance of desert and merit, according to the weight and worthiness.
So service shall with steeled sinews toil, and labor shall refresh itself with hope to do your grace incessant services.
We judge no less. Uncle of Exeter, enlarge the man committed to yesterday that rallied against our one person. We considered it was excess of wine that set him on, and on this more advice we pardoned him.
Oh, that's mercy, but too much security. Let him be punished, sovereign, least example breed by his sufferance more of such a kind.
Oh, let us yet be merciful.
So may your highness, and yet punish too.
Sir, you show great mercy if you give him life after the taste of much correction.
Alas, you too much love and care of me are heavy orisons against this poor wretch. If little faults proceeding on distemper shall not be winked at, how shall we stretch our eye with capital crimes, chewed, swallowed, and digested, appear before us? Well, yet enlarge that man, though Cambridge, Scroop, and Grey, and their dear care and tender preservation of our person would have him punished. And now to our French causes. Who are the late commissioners?
I, one, my lord. Your highness bade me ask for it today.
So did you me, my liege.
And I, my royal sovereign.
Then Richard, Earl of Cambridge, there is yours. There yours, Lord Scroop of Masham, and Sir Knight, Grey of Northumberland, this same is yours. Read them, and know I know your worthiness. My Lord of Westmoreland and Uncle Exeter, we will aboard tonight. Why? How now, gentlemen? What see you in those papers that you lose so much complexion? Look ye how they change. Their cheeks are paper. Why, what read you there that have no cowarded and chased your blood out of appearance?
I do confess my fault, and do submit me to your highness's mercy.
To which we all appeal.
The mercy that was quickly in us but late! By your own counsel suppressed and killed! You must not dare, for shame, to talk of mercy, for your own reasons turn into your bosoms. As dogs upon their masters worrying you. See your princes and my noble peers, these English monsters! My lord of Cambridge here, you know how apt our love was to a court to furnish with all appurtenance belonging to his honor. And this man hath for a few light crowns lightly conspired and sworn unto the practices of France to kill us here in Hampton, to which this night, no less for bounty bound to us than Cambridge's, hath lightly sworn. But oh! What shall I say to thee, Lord Scroop? Thou cruel, ingrateful, savage, and inhumane creature. Thou that didst bear the key of all my counsels, that knewest the very bottom of my soul, that almost mightst have conveyed me into the gold wouldst thou have practiced on me for thy use. May it be possible that foreign hire could not of thee extract one spark of evil that might annoy my finger? 'Tis so strange that thought the truth of it stands off as gross as black and white my eye will scarcely see it. Treason and murder ever kept together as two yoked devils sworn to either's purpose, working so grossly in a natural cause that admiration did not hop on them. But thou, 'gainst all proportion, didst bring in the wonder to wait on treason and on murder. And whatsoever cunning fiend it was that wrought upon thee so preposterously hath got the voice in hell for excellence. And other devils that suggest by treasons do botch and bungle up damnation, with patches, colours, and with forms being fetched from gristering semblances of piety. But he that tempered thee, bade thee stand up, give thee no instance why thou shouldst do treason, unless to dub thee with the name of traitor. If that same demon that hath gulled thee thus should with his lion gait walk the world, he might return to vasty Tartarback, and tell the legions, I can never win a soul so easy as that Englishman's. Oh, how hast thou with jealousy infected the sweetness of alliance? Showman dutiful, what so didst thou? Seem they grave and learned? What so didst thou? Come thy noble of family. Why so didst thou seem thy religious? Why so didst thou, or they spare in diet, free from gross passion, or of mirth or anger, constant in spirit, not swerving with blood, garnished and decked in modest compliment, not working with the eye, without the ear, and but in purged judgment, trusting neither, such and so finely bolted didst thou seem. And thus they fall hath left a kind of blots to make thee full-fraught man, and best endued with some suspicion, I will weep for thee. For this refault of thine, methinks, is like another fall of man. Their faults are open. Arrest them to the answer of the law, and God acquit them of their practices.
Exeter, you're muted. Exeter, you're still muted.
I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Richard, Earl of Cambridge. I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Henry, Lord Scroop of Masham. I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland.
Our purposes God justly hath discovered, and I repent my fault more than my death, which I beseech your highness to forgive, though my body pay the price of it.
For me, the gold of France did not seduce, although I did admit it as a motive. The sooner to effect I intended. But God be thanked for prevention, which is in sufferance heartily will rejoice, beseeching God and you to pardon me.
Never did faithful subject more rejoice at the discovery of most dangerous treason than I do at this hour. Joy o'er myself, prevented from a damned enterprise. My fault, but not my body. Pardon, sovereign.
God quit you in his mercy. Hear your sentence. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and for his coffers received the golden earnest of our death. Wherein you would have sold your king to slaughter, his princes and his peers to servitude, his subjects to oppression, and contempt with his whole kingdom into desolation. Touching our persons seek we no revenge, for we our kingdom's safety must so tender, whose ruin your sought, that to your laws we do deliver you. Get you therefore hence, poor miserable wretches, to your death. The taste whereof God of his mercy give your patience to endure, and true repentance of all you dare offenses. Bear them hence. Now, lords of France, the enterprise whereof shall be to you as us like glorious. We doubt not of a fair and lucky war, since God so graciously hath brought to light this dangerous treason lurking in our way to hinder our beginnings. We doubt not now, but every rubble is smoothed in our way. Then forth, dear countrymen, let us deliver our puissance into the hand of God, putting it straight into expedition. Cheerly to the sea, the signs of war advance. No king of England, if not king of France.
Prithee, honey, sweet husband, Let me bring thee to Staines.
No, for my manly heart doth earn. Bardolfe, be blithe, and then rouse thy vaunting veins. Boy, bristle thy courage up, for Falstaff, he is dead, and we must earn therefore.
Would I were with him, wheresoe'er he is, either in heaven or in hell.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom, if ever man went to Arthur's bosom. Made a finer end, and went away as it been any Christian child. Parted even just between 12 and 1, and at the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets, and play with flowers, and smile upon his finger's end, I knew there was but one way. For his nose was as sharp as a pen, and a table of green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man, be of good cheer? So he cried out, God, God, 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid him he should not think of God. I hope there was no need to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So I bade me lay more clothes on him, on his feet. I put my hand into the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. And then I felt to his knees, and so appeared, and upward, and all was as cold as any stone.
They say he cried out of sight.
Aye, that it did.
And of women?
Nay, that it did not.
Yes, that he did. He said that they were devils incarnate.
Ah, I could never abide carnation. 'Twas a colour he never liked.
He said once the devil would have him about women.
Did in some sort indeed handle women, but then he was romantic and talked of the whore of Babylon.
Do you not remember he saw a flea stick upon Bardolfe's nose, and he said it was a black soul burning in hell?
Well, the fuel is gone that maintains that fire. That's all the riches I got in this service.
Shall we shog? The king will be gone from Southampton.
Come, let's away. My love, give me thy lips. Look to thy chattels and my movables. Let senses rule. The word is pitch and pay. Trust none, for other straws and men's face are wafer cakes. Therefore, and Holdfast is the only dog, my duck. Therefore, Cavetto be thy counselor. Go, clear thy crystals. Yoke fellows in arms. Let us to France, like horse leeches, my boys, to suck the very blood, to suck.
And that's but unwholesome food, they say.
Touch her soft mouth and march.
Farewell, hostess.
I cannot hiss. That is the humour of it. But adieu.
Let housewifery appear. Keep close, I be command.
Farewell. Adieu.
Thus comes the English with full power upon us, and more than carefully it us concerns to answer royally in our defences. Therefore the Dukes of Berry and of Britain, of Brabant and Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all switch dispatch, to loin and new repair our towns of war with men of courage and with means defendant. For England his approaches make as fierce as waters to the sucking of a goat. It fits us then to be as provident as fear may teach us, out of late example left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, it is most meet we arm us against the foe, for peace itself should not so dull a kingdom. No war nor no known quarrel were in question, but that defenses, musters, preparations should be maintained, a assembled and collected, as were a war in expectation. Therefore, I say, 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France, and let us do it with no show of fear, no, with no more than if we heard that the England were busied with a Whitsun Morris dance. For good, my liege, she is so idly kinged, her scepter so fantastically borne by a vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not.
Oh, peace, great Dauphin. You are too much mistaken in this king. Question your grace the late ambassadors with what great state he heard their embassy, how well supplied with noble counselors, how modest in exception, and withal how terrible in constant resolution, and you shall find his vanities forespent were but the outside of the Roman Brutus, covering discretion with a coat of folly, as gardeners do with ordure hide those roots that shall first spring and be most delicate.
Well, 'tis not so, my Lord High Constable. But though we think it so, it is no matter. In cases of defense, 'tis best to weigh the enemy more mighty than he seems, so the proportions of defense are filled, which of a weak and niggardly projection doth like a miser spoil his coat with scanting a little cloth.
Think we King Harry strong, and princes look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody strain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shame when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captive by the hand of that black name, Edward, Black Prince of Wales, while that his mountain sire on mountain standing up in the air, crowned with the golden sun, saw his heroical steed and smiled to see him mangle the works of nature and deface the patterns that by God, that by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is a stem of that victorious stock, and let us fear the native mightiness and fate of him.
Ambassadors from Harry, King of England, do crave admittance to your majesty.
We'll give them present, audience. Go and bring them. You see, this chase is hotly followed, friends.
Turn head and stop pursuit. For coward dogs spend their mouths when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good, my sovereign, take up the English short and let them know of what a monarchy you are the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
From my brother in England?
From him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you, in the name of God Almighty, that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that, by gift of heaven, by law of nature, and of natures, and of nations, longs to him and to his heirs, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honors that pertain by custom and the ordinance of times unto the crown of France, that you may know 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim, picked from the wormholes of long-vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion raked. He sends you this most memorable line in every branch truly demonstrative. Willing you overlook this pedigree, and when you find him evenly derived from his most famed of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
Or else what follows?
Bloody constraint. For if you hide the crown, even in your hearts, there will be he rake for it. Therefore, in fierce tempest he is coming, in thunder and earthquake, like a Jove. That if requiring fail, he will compel, and bids you in the bowels of the Lord deliver up the crown, and to take mercy on the poor souls, for whom this hungry war opens his vasty jaws. And on your head, turning the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the privy maiden's groans for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers, that shall be swallowed in by this controversy. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message. Unless the Dauphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting to.
For us, we will consider of this further. Tomorrow shall you bear our full intent. Back to our brother of England.
For the Dauphin, I stand here for him. What to him from England?
Scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that may not misbecome the mighty sender doth he prize you at. Thus says my king, and if your father's highness do not, in grant of all demands at large, sweeten the bitter mock you sent his majesty, he'll call you to so hot an answer for it, the caves and won't-be voltages of France shall chide your trespass, and return your mock in second accent of his ordinance.
Say, if my father render fair return, it is against my will. For I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching to his youth and vanity, I did present him with the Paris balls.
He'll make your Paris lover shake for it, were it the mystic port of mighty Europe. And be assured you'll find a difference, as we, his subjects, have in wonder found between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now. Now he weighs time even to the utmost grain that you shall read in your own losses if he stay in France.
Tomorrow shall you know our mind at full.
Dispatch us with all speed, lest that our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
You shall be soon dispatched with fair conditions. A night is but small breath and little pause to answer matters of this consequence.
Thus with imagined wing, our swift scene flies, in motion of no less celerity than that of thought. Suppose that you have seen the well-appointed king at Dover Pier embark his royalty, and his brave fleet with silken streamers, the young Phoebus fanning. Play with your fancies, and in them behold, upon the hempen tackle, shipboys climbing. Hear the shrill whistle, which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the threatened sails borne with the invisible and creeping wind, draw the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, do but think. You stand upon the rivage, and behold a city on the inconstant billows dancing. For so appears this fleet majestical, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow, grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enriched with one appearing hair that will not follow these culled and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping ungirded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine, his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with linstock now the devilish cannon touches, alarum, and the chambers go off, and down goes all before them. Still, be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind.
Once more onto the breach, dear friends! Once more, close the wall up with our English dead! In peace there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility, but when the blast of war blows on our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger! Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let it pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow o'erwhelm it as fearfully as doth the gallant rock o'erhang, and Juddy as confounded bay swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fet from fathers of war-proof. Fathers that, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought, and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you've called sinners to beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeoman, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the middle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath noble luster in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George!
On, to the breach, to the breach. On him.
Pray you stay that knocks a Tottenham for mine own part. I have not a case of lives. The humour of it is too hot. That's the very plain song of it.
The plain song is most just, for humours do abound. Knocks go and come, God's vessels drop and die, and sword and shield in bloody field doth win immortal fame.
Would I were in an alehouse in London, I would give all my fame for a pot of ale and safety.
And I, if wishes could prevail with me, my purpose should not fail with me, but thither would I hie, as duly but not as truly as bird doth sing on bough.
Up to the breach, you dogs! Avaunt, you cullions!
Yea, be merciful, great Duke, to men of mould. Abate thy rage, abate thy manly rage. Abate thy rage, great Duke. Good bawcock, bate thy rage. Use vanity, sweet Chuck.
Oh, let's be good humours. Your honour wins bad humours.
As young as I am, I have observed these three swashers. I'm a boy to them all three. But all they three, though they would serve me, could not be a man to me. For indeed, three such antics do not amount to a man. For Bardolfe, he is white-livered and red-faced, by the means whereof he faces it out, but fights not. For Pistol, he hath a killing tongue and a quiet sword, by the means whereof he breaks words and keeps whole weapons. For Nym, he hath heard that men of few words are the best men, and therefore he scorns to say his prayers, lest he should be thought a coward. But his few bad words are matched with few good deeds, for he never broke any man's head but his own, and that was against a post when he was drunk. There was still anything in call it purchase. Bardolfe stole a lute case, bore 12 leagues, and sold it for 3 halfpence. Nym and Bardolfe are sworn brothers in filching, and in Calais they stole a fire shovel. I knew by that piece of service the men would carry coals. They would have me as familiar with men's pockets as their gloves or their handkerchiefs, which makes much against my manhood, if I should take from another's pocket to put into mine, for it is plain pocketing up of wrongs. I must leave them and seek some better service. Their villainy goes against my weak stomach, and therefore I must cast it up.
Captain Llewellyn, you must come presently to the mines. The Duke of Gloucester would speak with you.
To the mines? Tell you the Duke, it is not so good to come to the mines, for look you, the mines is not according to the disciplines of war. The concavities it is not sufficient, for look you, the adversary you may discuss unto the Duke, look you, is dight himself 4 yards under the countermines, by Jesu. I think it will plough up all, if there is not better directions.
The Duke of Gloucester, to whom the order of the siege is given, is altogether directed by an Irishman, a very valiant gentleman, i' faith.
It is Captain MacMorris, is it not?
I think it be.
Jesu, he is an ass, as in the world I would verify as much in his beard. He has no more directions in the true disciplines of war, look you, of the Roman disciplines. That is a puppy dog.
Here it comes, and the Scots captain, Captain Jamie, with him.
Captain Jamie is a marvellous, fabulous gentleman. that is certain, and a great expedition and knowledge in the ancient wars. Upon my particular knowledge of his directions, by Jesus, he will maintain his argument as well as any military man in the world. The discipline of the pristine wars of the Romans.
Here comes, and I say good day, Captain Llewellyn.
Good day to your worship, good Captain James.
How now, Captain McMorris? Have you quit the mines? Have the pioneers given o'er?
By Christ, lad, 'tis ill done. The work is give over, the trumpet sound the retreat. By my hand I swear, and my father's soul, the work is ill done. It is give over. I would have blown up the town, so Christ save me, Lord, in an hour. Ah, 'tis ill done, 'tis ill done. By my hand, 'tis ill done.
Captain McMorris, I beseech you now, will you vouchsafe me, a few disputations with you, as partly touching or concerning the disciplines of the war, of the Roman wars, in a way of argument, look you, and friendly communication, partly to satisfy my opinion, as touching the direction of military discipline. That is the point.
It shall be very good, faith, good captain, and I'll quit you with good leave, as I may pick occasion. That's all I'm at it.
No time to discourse. So Christ save me. The day is hot, and the weather, and the waters, and the king, and the dukes. There's no time to discourse. The town is besieged, and the trumpet calls us into the breach, and we talk. And be Christ do nothing. 'Tis a shame for us all. So God save me, 'tis a shame to stand still. 'Tis a shame by my hand, and there's throats to be cut, and works to be done, and nothing done. So Christ save me, Lord. Well, I'll keep that.
By the mess, here the eyes of mine terms of slumber, I'll in service. I'll leggy grim for it. Aye, or go to death, and I'll pay it as valorous as I may. That shall I do straighten along, Harry. I would full fain have some question to weigh.
Captain McMorris, I think, look you, under your correction, there is not so many of your nation.
Of my nation? What is my nation? Is a villain, is a bastard, is a knave, and a rascal. What is my nation? Who talks of my nation?
Look you, if you take the matter otherwise than is meant, Captain McMorris, peradventure I shall think you do not use me with that affability, as in discretion you ought to use me, look you, being as good a man as yourself, both in the disciplines of war and in the derivation of my birth, and in other particulars.
I do not know you so good a man as myself. So Christ save me. I will cut off your head.
Gentlemen both, you will mistake each other.
It's a foul fault.
The town sounds a parley.
Captain McMorris, when there is more better opportunity to be required, look you, I will be so bold as to tell you I know the disciplines of war, and there's an end.
How yet resolves the governor of the town? This is the latest parle we will admit. Therefore, to our best mercy, give yourselves, or like to men proud of destruction, defy us to our worst. For as I am a soldier, a name that in my thoughts becomes me best, if I begin the battery once again, I will not leave the half-achieved hearth-floor. Till in our ashes she lie buried, the gates of mercy shall be all shut up, and the fleshed soldier, rough and hard of heart, and liberty of blood hand, shall range with conscience wide as hell, mowing like grass your fresh virgins and your flowering infants. What is it then to be, if impious war, arrayed in flames like to the prince of fiends, doeth his smirched complexion all fell feats and licks to waste and desolation? What is it to me when your slaves are caused, if your pure maidens fall into the land of hot and forcing violation? What reign can hold lascivious wickedness? What dawn the hill he holds the fierce carrier? We may as bootless spend our vance command upon the enraged soldiers and their spoil, as send Perseps to the Leviathan to come ashore. Therefore, you men of Harfleur, take pity of your town and of your people. Whilst yet my soldiers are in command, whilst yet the cool and temperate wind of grace o'erblows the filthy and contagious clouds of headly murder, spoil, and villainy. If not, why in a moment look to see the blind and bloody soldier with foul hand desire the locks of your shrill shrieking daughters, your fathers taken by the silver beards, and their most reverend heads dashed to the walls, your naked infants spitted upon pikes, whilst the mad mothers with their howls confused do break the clouds, as did the wives of Jewry at Herod's bloody haunting slaughter men. What say you? Will you yield and this avoid? Or guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
Our expectation hath this day an end. The Dauphin, whom of succors we are entreated, returns us that his powers are yet not ready, so raise so great a siege. Therefore, great King, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our gates, dispose of us and ours, if we no longer are defensible.
Open your gates. Come, Uncle Exeter, go you and enter Harfleur. There remain and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all for us, dear uncle. The winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers, we will retire to Calais. Tonight in Harfleur we will be your guest. Tomorrow for the march are we addressed.
Alice, tu as été en Angleterre et tu bien parlas le langage.
Alice, you are muted.
Un peu, madame.
Je t'en prie de m'enseigner. Il faut que je apprends à parler. Combien appelez-vous la main en anglois?
Le main, il est appelé de hand.
De hand et le doigt?
Les doigts, ma foi, j'oublie. Les doigts, mais je me souviendrai. Les doigts, je pense qu'ils ont appelé de fingers. Oui, de fingers.
Le main de hand, le doigt de fingre. Je pense que je suis le bon écolier. J'ai gagné 2 mots d'anglois vitement. Comment appelez-vous l'ongle?
L'ongle, les appelons de nails.
De nails. Écoute, dis-moi si je parle bien. De hand, de finger, de nails.
C'est bien dit, madame, il faut bon anglois.
Dis-moi l'anglois pour le bras.
De arm, madame.
Et de coude?
D'elbow.
D'elbow. Je m'en fais de répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris dès à présent.
Il est trop difficile, madame, comme je pense.
Excuse-moi, Alice. Écoute. D'hand, de finger, de nail, d'arm, de bilbo.
D'elbow, madame.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu, je m'en oublie. D'elbow. Comment appelez-vous le col?
De nick, madame.
De nick et le menton?
De chin.
De cine, le col, de nick, le menton, de cine.
Oui, sauf votre honneur. En vérité, vous prononcez les mots aussi droit que le natif d'Angleterre.
Je ne doute point d'apprendre par de grâce de Dieu et en peu de temps.
N'avez-vous déjà oublié ce que je vous ai enseigné?
Non, je réciterai à vous promptement. D'hand, de finger, de nails.
De nails, madame.
De nails, d'armes, d'elbow.
Sauf votre honneur, d'elbow.
Ainsi dis-je, d'elbow, de nick, de cine. Comment appelez-vous le pied et de robe?
Le foot, madame, et le compte.
Le foot, le compte, oh Seigneur Dieu, ils sont les mots de son mauvais, corruptible, grosse et impudique. Et non pour les dames d'honneur d'user. Je ne voudrais prononcer ces mots devant le Seigneur de France pour tout le monde. Fou, le foot, le compte. Néanmoins, je réciterai une autre fois ma leçon ensemble. D'hand, de finger, de nail, d'arm, d'elbow, de nick, de cine, de foot, le compte.
Excellent, madame.
C'est assez pour une fois. Allons-nous à dîner.
We have passed the River Somme.
And if he be not forthwithal, my lord, let us not live in France. Let us quit all and give our vineyards to a barbarous people.
Oh, Dieu vivant, shall a few sprays of us, the emptying of our father's luxury, our scions put in wild and savage stock, spurt up so suddenly into the clouds and overlook their grafters?
Normans, but bastard Normans, Norman bastards, more de ma vie, if they march along unfought withal, but I will sell my dukedom to buy a slubbery and a dirty farm in that nook-shotten isle of Albion.
Dieu de bataille, where have they this metal? Is not that climate foggy, raw, and dull, on whom, as in despite the sun looks pale, killing their fruit with frowns? Can sodden water, a drench for surrained jades their barley broth, decoct their cold blood to such valiant heat? And shall our quick blood, spirited with wine, seem frosty? Oh, for honor of our land, let us not hang like roping icicles upon our houses' thatch, whilst the more frosty people sweat drops of gallant youth in our rich fields. Poor we call them in their native lords.
By faith and honor, our madams mock at us and plainly say our metal is bred out, and they will give their bodies to the lust of English youth, to new store France with bastard warriors.
They bid us to the English dancing schools, and teach lavoltas high and swift corantos, saying our grace is only in our heels, and that we are most lofty runaways.
Where is Montjoy the herald? Speed him hence. Let him greet England with our sharp defiance. Up, princes, and with spirit of honor edged, more sharper than your swords, high to the field. Charles Delabreath, High Constable of France, you, Dukes of Orleans, Bourbon, and of Berry, Alençon, Brabant, Bar, and Bourgogne, Jacques, Châtillon, Rambourg, Vendôme, Beaumont, Grand Prix, Roussy, and Falconbridge, Loire, Mistral, Rosequal, and Charleroi. My dukes, great princes, barons, lords, kings, for your great seat now quit you of great shames. Bar harry England that sweeps through our land with pennons painted in the blood of Harflew. Rush on his host as doth the melted snow upon the valleys, whose low vassal seat the Alps doth spit and void his room upon. Go down upon him, you have power enough, and in a captive chariot into Rouen bring him our prisoner.
This becomes the great. Sorry I am his numbers are so few, his soldiers sick and famished in their march. For I am sure when he shall see our army, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear, and for achievement offer us his ransom.
Therefore, Lord Constable, haste on Montjoy, and let him say to England that we send to know what willing ransom he will give. Prince Dauphin, you shall stay with us in Rouen.
Not so, I do beseech your majesty.
Be patient, for you shall remain with us. Now, forth, Lord Constable and princes all, and quickly bring us word of England's fall.
How now, Captain Llewellyn, come you from the bridge?
I assure you, there is very excellent services committed at the bridge.
Is the Duke of Exeter safe?
Oh, the Duke of Exeter is as magnanimous as Agamemnon, and a man that I love and honor with all my soul and my heart and my duty and my life and my living and my uttermost power. He is not, God be praised and blessed, any hurt in the world, but keeps the bridge most valiantly with excellent discipline. There is an ancient lieutenant there at the bridge, and I think in my very conscience he is as valiant a man as Mark Antony, and he is a man as no estimation in the world, but I did see him do a gallant service.
What do you call him?
He is called Ancient Pistol.
I know him not.
No, here is the man.
Captain, I thee beseech to do me favors. The Duke of Exeter doth love thee well.
Aye, praise God, and I have merited some love at his hands.
Bardolfe, a soldier firm and sound of heart, and of buxom valor, hath by Rule fate and giddy fortune's furious fickle wheel, that goddess blind that stands upon the rolling, restless stone.
By your patience, ancient pistol. Fortune is painted blind with a muffler before her eyes to signify to you that fortune is blind. And she is painted also with a wheel to signify to you, which is the moral of it, that she is turning and inconstant, and mutability and variation. And her foot, look you, is fixed upon the spherical stone which rolls and rolls and rolls. In good truth, the poet makes a most excellent description of it. Fortune is an excellent moral.
Fortune is Bardolfe's foe, and frowns on him, for he hath stolen a pax, and hanged must be a damned death. Let gallows gape for dog, let man go free, and let not hemp his windpipe suffocate, but Exeter hath given the doom of death for pax of little price. Therefore, go, speak. The Duke will hear thy voice, and let not Bardolfe's vital thread be cut with edge of penny cord and vile reproach. Speak, captain, for his life, and I will thee requite.
Ancient pistol, I do partly understand your meaning.
Why then rejoice therefore.
Certainly, ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at. For if, look you, he were my brother, I would desire the Duke to use his good pleasure and put him to execution, for discipline ought to be used.
Die and be damned, and Fido for thy friendship.
It is well.
The fig of Spain.
Very good.
Why, this is an arrant counterfeit rascal. I remember him now, a bawd, a cut purse.
I'll assure you he uttered brave words at the bridge, as you shall see in a summer's day, but it is very well when he has spoke to me, that is well, I warrant you, when time is served.
Why, 'tis a gull, a fool, a rogue, that now and then goes to wars to grace himself at his return into London under the form of a soldier. And such fellows are perfect in the great commanders' names, and they will learn you by rote where services were done. Sorry. Where services were done, and oh no. Sorry. Where services were done at such and such a sconce, at such a breach, at such a convoy, who came off bravely, who was shot, who disgraced, what terms the enemies stood on, and this they con perfectly in the phrase of war, which they trick up with new-tuned oaths. And what a beard of the general's cut, and a horrid suit of the camp will do among foaming bottles and ale-washed wits is wonderful to be thought on. But you must learn to know such slanders of the age, or else you may be marvelously mistook.
I tell you what, Captain Gower, I do perceive he is not the man that he would gladly make show to the world he is. If I find a hole in his coat, I will tell him my mind. Hark you, the king is coming, and I must speak with him from the bridge. God please your majesty.
How now, Llewellyn? What comest thou from the bridge?
Aye, so please your majesty, the Duke of Exeter, he's very gallantly maintained the bridge, and the French is gone off, look you, and there is gallant and most brave passages. Marry, the adversary was have possession of the bridge, but he is enforced to retire, and the Duke of Exeter is master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty, the Duke is a brave man.
What men have you lost, Llewellyn?
The petition of the adversary hath been very great, reasonable great. Marry, for my part, I think the Duke hath lost never a man but one that is like to be executed for robbing a church, one Bardolfe, if your majesty knows the man. His face is all bubbacles and whelks and knobs and flames of fire, and his lips blow at his nose, and it is like a coal of fire, sometimes blue and sometimes red, but his nose is executed. and his fire's out.
We would have all such offenders so cut off. And we give express charge that in our marches through the country there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for, none of the French unbraided or abused in disdainful language. For when levity and cruelty play for a kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
You know me by my habit.
Well, then I know thee. What shall I know of thee?
My master's mind.
Unfold it.
Thus says my king, say thou to Harry of England, though we seemed dead, we did but sleep. Advantage is a better soldier than rashness. Tell him we could have rebuked him at Harflew, but that we thought not good to bruise an injury till it were full ripe. Now we speak upon our cue, and our voice is imperial. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance. Bid him therefore consider of his ransom, which must proportion the losses we have borne, the subjects we have lost, the disgrace we have digested, which in wait to re-answer his pettiness would bow under. For our losses, his exchequer is too poor. For the infusion of our blood, the muster of his kingdom too faint a number. And for our disgrace, his own person kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To this add defiance, and tell him for conclusion, he hath betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So fair my king and master, so much my office.
What is thy name? I know thy quality.
Mountjoy.
Thou doest thy office fairly. Turn thee back, and tell thy king, I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march on to Calais without impeachment. For to say the sooth, though 'tis no wisdom to confess so much unto an enemy of craft and vantage, my people are with sickness much enfeebled, my numbers lessened. And those few I have almost no better than so many French. Who, when they were in health, I tell thee, Harold, I thought upon one pair of English legs did march thee Frenchmen. Yet forgive me, God, that I do brag thus. This your ire of France hath blown that vice in me. I must repent. Go therefore, tell thy master, here I am. My ransom is this frail and worthless trunk, my army but a weak and sickly guard. Yet God before, tell him we will come on, through France himself, and such another neighbor stand in our way. There's for thy labor, Mountjoy. Go bid thy master well advise himself. If we may pass, we will. If we be hindered, we shall your tawny ground with your red blood discolor. And so, Mountjoy, fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this. We would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are, we say we will not shun it. So tell your master.
I shall deliver so, thanks to your highness.
I hope they will not come upon us now.
We are in God's hand, brother, not in theirs. March to the bridge, it now draws toward night. Beyond the river we'll encamp ourselves, and on tomorrow bid them march away.
End of part one. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break and we'll start. I see it's 2:42 now. Shall we start again at 2:55?
Synchronized watches, hack!
Thank you.
Paul, are you there? Stephen?
I am, but I don't know what Paul doesn't appear to be.
Okay.
But thank you for trying so hard to keep joining us.
Oh, Lord, that was just so bloody frustrating. My computer and internet just decided to just not cooperate. And then it did. And then I was trying to get in by way of my phone. And then I kept trying to get in through my computer. And I wasn't sure what the protocols were for unmuting myself. Oh, there's Paul. Paul, thank you so much for reading for me while I was fighting to get in.
Yeah, sorry. I also, when your phone had come on, somebody else had said they'd heard noises that they thought were the phone, so that's why I muted you. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, no, worry not. It's it was just also.
Don't start talking that way.
It was so frustrating.
Yeah, it can be the technology. Yeah, I know several people had difficulties getting into it today.
Yeah.
And also, it's like a little different when we have a different link than our normal one. Sometimes when we just have like our normal Thursday link, you can just get in on that, or the Saturday. But this is a unique St. Crispin's Day link, so
yes,
you finally made it. So.
Yeah, I had several attendees who said they couldn't actually attend, they couldn't get in. On the other hand, I do have friends who are watching in Germany, so you win some, lose some.
Yeah, that's great, and it's also people can also watch it on YouTube. I mean, live while it's on. Some people watch it that way, and you can also then check out the recording later.
Yeah.
But
your friends have subtitles in Germany?
No, unlike so many Americans, they're polyglots and so can speak and understand several languages.
Unlike so many Americans, they actually speak English.
Unlike so many Americans, they sometimes they can speak English.
Has everybody voted?
I did yesterday.
I'm going tomorrow. I tried to go yesterday. The line was too damn long.
Yeah, the lines were, I was online altogether. The whole process took about 3 hours for me. It was worth it though. I'm glad I went the first day because I've got a lot of stuff going on up until election day, and so I didn't want to take any chances of.
We voted by mail about 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't go through the U.S. Postal Service. Our town hall actually has a box where you deliver your your mail vote.
Oh, good.
Constable of France and his Renault.
Hello.
How you doing, Betty?
I am all right. I've been, I'm on the road, and so like every time I see one of my scenes come up, I pull over to the side.
Good. Please pull over before participating in Zoom.
I'm sitting out the intermission. I don't know where I am in some parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny because our Archbishop of Canterbury earlier and I were working together about literally 50 years ago on a production that was called Traveling Theatre, and here you are offering us traveling theatre.
I opened in Venice and then played Verona.
Verona, yes.
Don't forget the Dirty, Dirty Menace.
Yeah, never ever forget that. Oy.
Why are you on a road trip? Are you away from home? Somewhere interesting?
I'm in between Allentown and Philadelphia. I had to do a hospital visit. So, and there was, I left Philadelphia late and I didn't want to rush the visit too much. So this meant that I left there about the time that we started. So.
Yeah, I've been doing more than I want.
Well, Constable, as long as you don't come across any other constables.
I have great respect for the law.
Yeah. One of the things that I find so interesting in the history of Henry V is that it was like, well, Edward III had surprised the French with this invention of the longbow and was able to defeat them at the Battle of Crécy. And then it was again this great innovation of the longbow at Agincourt that the English, how the English won really, and also because the French were trying to put too many people into too small an opening and just got in their own way, really. But
you forget the mud. Mud had a lot to do with it.
Yes, this is very true.
Do you remember the actor Robert Hardy? He was he was the one who played Ariel to the Caliban of Richard Burton, amongst other things. But he was an expert on the longbow, and he actually wrote a couple of books about it.
Oh.
And in fact, I think somewhere on the, I don't know if it was on the BBC originally, but he actually did a program about the longbow and how it was used to win the wars and how it was used in great Russian movies.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting in the text, there really isn't that much direct, if any, sort of talking about it, because I think it was sort of assumed that everybody, that was a part of the history that they still knew so well, in a way. But anyway.
Yeah, I think one of the things actually that it struck me when Ben was reading the list earlier of of the French noblemen, and I can't remember which one it was. I'm just trying to thumb through it now, but one of them was actually Henry's half brother. These guys. I mean, it's like like the royal houses of Europe now. They were all related to each other. They all knew each other. They all drank together.
Of course, they wouldn't necessarily talk about the longbow because that's the peasant soldier. It's not the nobleman. When they talked history, it was about the nobles and their flashing blades.
Yeah, or as Henry says later, and 14 of no name who died.
David, you're talking, Stephen, sorry, you're talking the actual history, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to Thomas More's version of the history that Shakespeare used as a basis.
Thomas More, who grew up in the household of Morton, who hated and despised Richard. Richard should have cut Morton's head off when he had the chance.
Amazing.
History is, it's the missteps of history. We are living through them.
Indeed. Indeed we are. I'm having a great time, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. This is so cool. I'm seeing all these faces from around the world. It's crazy. Wow.
We cover 8 time zones.
Wow.
I'm very proud with that. I just wish that we couldn't do it at a time where we could get some of our Australasian friends with us.
You got to work on that, Stephen.
Pardon? Believe me, well, we have had them. I mean, we have a lady in New Zealand who, joins in quite regularly, doesn't she, Paul?
Yes. For her, like the Thursday evening things work well for her since.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So, Oscar, what's the weather like in Ireland right now?
Well, it was raining earlier, but now it's kind of clear, but it's dark outside, so it doesn't really matter now.
Where in Ireland are you?
I'm in the south in Cork City.
How's the atmosphere over there as far as the virus? Is everything shut down? Are things opening up?
Well, on what day? On Tuesday, we went back into lockdown because we came out of it nearly completely, and we all went back to school. And then the cases started going crazy, so we had to go back into lockdown. So that's fun.
Yeah. God. So like nothing's open again?
Well, schools are going to continue to be open, but all the shops are closed except for grocery stores.
I went back to my office. I still work remotely, but I just can't stand being home all the time. Just
yeah.
Just to be in the middle of the fun again. Well,
yeah, that's what the government's thinking about, keeping the schools open.
I feel like it's alive, but at midnight by law, all the bars close on a Friday night. It's very sad, and all the kids who have just come out to start partying, they have to go home again.
Yeah.
We'll start again in 3 minutes, Anna. Okay.
At least you stay open till midnight. Ours shut at 10.
Well, just like the good old days.
It's England, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I was there, leaving the theaters, you couldn't get a beer after a long show.
Mm-hmm. What you did? Leaving the theaters, you couldn't get a train or a night bus.
I want to go back someday.
Theaters, what are they?
Yeah.
The worst bit is I'm on my own and I try to go to there are some theaters opening, but the worst thing is that they can't take single tickets, or they won't take single tickets.
Why
because having to keep people socially distanced, so they take group 2, 3, and 4, they won't take singles.
Oh man, somebody has got to have started a website or a Facebook where if you want to see something, they say, post here. Let's get a small, well, you can't do that. Forget it.
No, you can't do that because they're not in the bubble, you know. So you're stuck, you know. There's a lot of the smaller theatres are opening up, but I can't go by myself.
You need to start
Well, what really
knocking on your
surprised me
neighbors'
was when I was
doors.
reading reviews of the Royal Ballet performance. So I asked a friend of mine who runs a ballet company in Europe, and I said, well, how are you performing ballet? I mean, opera and theatre, I can understand socially distanced, but ballet. And what she told me was that they are A, creating new ballets, or B, they are working with couples, you know, sort of, you know, whether it's men and men or whether it's men and women. So they are creating new dances on those couples within a bubble.
Wow.
We had a friend who runs a little theater company. He put on a short Sherlock Holmes adaptation. We were in masks in the audience and grouped together and the next group. And the actors were unmasked. It was outdoors, and he staged it so the actors were never closer than about 10 feet. And it worked great. It was such a joy to be out again in a group, hearing the same lines together, laughing at the same jokes in the same space. God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we should begin again. I'll just remind you that Anna will give us her next aria, and then we go back to Act 3, Scene 7, and then cut straight to Act 4, Scene 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to switch off, and Anna, the floor, if not the stage, is yours.
Now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds that the fixed sentinels almost receive the secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, and through their paly flames, each battle sees the other's umbered face. Steed threatens steed in high and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear. And from the tents, the armorers, accomplishing the nights with busy hammers, closing rivets up, give dreadful note of preparation. The country cocks do crow, the clocks do toll, and the third hour of drowsy morning named. Proud of their numbers and secure in soul, the confident and overlusty French do the low-rated English play at dice, and chide the crippled tardy-gated knight, who like a foul and ugly witch doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices, by their watchful fires sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger, and their gesture sad, investing lank, lean cheeks and war-worn coats, presented them unto the gazing moon so many horrid ghosts. Oh, now, who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band, walking from watch to watch, from tent to tent? Let him cry praise and glory on his head, for forth he goes and visits all his host, bids them good morrow with a modest smile, and calls them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon his royal face there is no note how dread an army hath enrounded him, nor doth he dedicate one jot of color unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks, and overbears a taint with cheerful semblance and sweet majesty, that every wretch, pining and pale before, beholding him, plucks comfort from his looks. A largesse universal, like the sun, his liberal eye doth give to every one, thawing cold fear, that mean and gentle all behold, as may unworthiness define a little touch of Harry in the night. And so our scene must to the battle fly, where, oh, for pity, we shall much disgrace, with 4 or 5 most vile and ragged foils, right ill disposed, in brawl ridiculous, the name of Agincourt. Yet sit and see, minding true things by what their mockeries be.
But I have the best armor of the world. Would it were day!
You have an excellent armor, but let my horse have his due.
It is the best horse of Europe.
Will it never be morning?
My Lord of Orleans and my Lord High Constable, you talk of horse and armor?
You are as well provided of both as any prince in the world.
What a long night is this. I will not change my horse with any that treads on four postures. Saha, he bounds from the earth as if his entrails were hairs. Le cheval volant, the Pegasus, chez les narines de feu. When I bestride him, I soar. I am a hawk. He trots the air. The earth sings when he touches it. The basest horn of his hoof is more musical than the pipe of Hermes.
And he's the color of the nutmeg.
And of the heat of the ginger. It is a beast for Perseus. He is pure air and fire, and the dull elements of earth and water never appear in him, but only in patient stillness while his rider mounts him. He is indeed a horse, and all other jades you may call beasts.
Indeed, my lord. It is a most absolute and excellent horse.
It is the Prince of Palfreys. His neigh is like the bidding of a monarch, and his countenance enforces homage.
Oh, no more, cousin.
Nay, the man hath no wit that cannot from the rising of the lark to the lodging of the lamb very deserved praise on my palfrey. It is a theme as fluent as the sea. Turn the sands into eloquent tongues, and my horse is argument for them all. 'Tis a subject for a sovereign to reason on, and for sovereigns sovereign to ride on, and for the world familiar to us and unknown to lay apart their particular functions and wonder at him. I once writ a sonnet in his praise, and began thus: wonder of nature.
Oh, I have heard a sonnet begin so to one's mistress.
Then did they imitate that which I composed to my courser, for my horse is my mistress.
And your mistress bears well.
Me well, which is the precise, prescript praise and perfection of a good and particular mistress.
Nay, for methought yesterday your mistress shrewdly shook your back.
So perhaps did yours.
Mine was not bridled.
Oh, then belike she was old and gentle, and you rode like a kern of Ireland, your French hose off and in your straight trousers.
You have good judgment in horsemanship.
Be warned by me then. They that ride so and ride not warily fall into foul bogs. I had rather have my horse to my mistress.
I had as live have my mistress a jade.
I tell thee, constable, my mistress wears his own hair.
I couldn't make as true a boast as that if I had a sow to my mistress.
Le chien est retourné à son propre vomissement et les lèvres lavées aux paupières. Thou makest use of anything.
Yet do I not use my horse for my mistress, or any such proverb so little kin to the purpose.
My Lord Constable, the armor that I saw in your tent tonight, are those stars or suns upon it?
Stars, my lord.
Some of them will fall tomorrow, I hope.
And yet my sky shall not want.
That may be, for you bear many superfluously, and 'twere more honor some were away.
Even as your horse bears your praises, who would trot as well were some of your brags dismounted?
Would I were able to load him with his dessert. Will it never be day? I will trot tomorrow a mile, and my way shall be paved with English faces.
I will not say so, for fear that I should be faced out of my way. But I would it were morning, for I would fain be about the ears of the English.
Who will go to hazard with me for 20 prisoners?
You must first go yourself to hazard ere you have them.
It's midnight. I'll go arm myself.
The Dauphin longs for morning.
He longs to eat the English.
I think he will eat all he kills.
Ugh, by the white hand of my lady, he's a gallant prince.
Swear by her foot that she may tread out the oath.
Oh, he's simply the most active gentleman of France.
Doing is activity, and he will still be doing.
Oh, he never did harm that I heard of.
Nor will do none tomorrow. He will keep that good name still.
I know him to be valiant.
I was told that by one that knows him better than you.
What's he?
Marry, he told me so himself. And he said he cared not who knew it.
No, he needs not. It is no hidden virtue in him.
By my faith, sir, but it is. Never anybody saw it but his lackey. 'Tis a hooded valor, and when it appears, it will fade.
Ill will never said well.
I will cap that proverb with, there is flattery in friendship.
And I will take up with that, give the devil his due.
Well placed. There stands your friend for the devil. Have at the very eye of that proverb with, a pox of the devil.
You are better at proverbs, but how much a fool's bolt is soon shot.
You have shot over.
Oh, 'tis not the first time you were overshot.
My lord High Constable, the English lie within 1,500 paces of your tents.
Who hath measured the ground?
The Lord Grand Prix.
A valiant and most expert gentleman. Would it were day. Alas, poor Harry of England. He longs not for the dawning as we do.
What a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England, to mope with his fat-brained followers so far out of his knowledge.
If the English had any apprehension, they would run away.
That they lack. For if their heads had any intellectual armor, they would never wear such heavy headpieces.
That island of England breeds very valiant creatures. Their mastiffs are of unmatchable courage.
Foolish curs that run winking into the mouth of a Russian bear and have their heads crushed like rotten apples. You may as well say, that's a valiant flea that dare eat his breakfast upon the lip of a lion.
Just. And the men do sympathize with the mastiffs in robustious and rough coming on, leaving their wits with their wives, and then give them great meals of beef and iron and steel. They will eat like wolves and fight like devils.
Aye, but these English are surely out of beef.
Then shall we find tomorrow they have only stomachs to eat and none to fight. Now is it time to arm. Come, shall we about it?
Oh, it is now 2 o'clock, but let me see. By 10, we shall each have 100 Englishmen.
Gloucester, 'tis true that we are in great danger. Greater therefore should be our courage be. God morrow, brother Bedford, God Almighty, there is some soul of goodness in things evil when men observingly distill it out. For our bad neighbor makes us early stirs, which is both healthful and good husbandry. Besides, they are our outward conscientiousnesses and preachers to us all, admonishing that we should dress us fairly for our end. Thus may we gather honey from the weed and make a morale of the devil himself. Good morrow, old Sir Thomas Hepburn. A good soft pillow for that good white head were better than a churlish turf of France.
Not so, my liege. This lodging likes me better, since I may say now lie I like a king.
'Tis good for men to love their present pains upon example, so the spirit is eased. And when the mind is quickened out of doubt, the organs, though defunct and dead before, break up their drowsy grave and newly move with casted slough and fresh legislatury. Lend me thy cloak, Sir Thomas. Brothers both, commend me to the princes in our camp. Do me good morrow to them, and anon desire them all to my pavilion.
We shall, my liege.
Shall I attend your grace?
No, my good knight. Go with my brothers to my lords of England. I and my bosom must debate a while, and then I would no other company.
The Lord in heaven bless thee, noble Harry.
God of mercy, old heart, thou speakest cheerfully.
'Tis vous là?
A friend.
Discuss unto me, art thou officer, or art thou base, common, and popular?
I am a gentleman of the company.
Trailst thou the puissant pike?
Even so, where are you?
As good a gentleman as the emperor.
Then you are better than the king.
Oh, the king's a bawcock and a heart of gold, a lad of life, an imp of fame, a parent's good, of fist most valiant. I kiss his dirty shoe, and from heartstring I love the lovely bully. What is thy name?
Harry Leroy.
Leroy. Huh. A Cornish name. Art thou of Cornish crew?
No, I am a Welshman.
Knowst thou Llewellyn?
Yes.
Tell him I'll knock his leek about his pate upon St. Davy's Day.
Do not you wear your dagger in your cape that day, lest ye knock that about yours?
Art thou his friend?
And his kinsman too?
A figo for thee then.
I thank you. God be with you.
My name is Pistol called.
It sorts well with your fierceness.
Captain Llewellyn.
So, in the name of Jesus, speak fewer. It is the greatest admiration in the universal world when the true and ancient pregorated and laws of the wars is not kept. If you would take the pains but to examine the wars of Pompey the Great, you shall find, I warrant you, that there is no tittle-tattle or pibble-babble in Pompey's cap. I warn you, you shall find the ceremonies of the wars and the cares of it and the forms of it and the sobriety of it and the modesty of it to be otherwise.
Why, the enemy is loud. You hear him all night.
If the enemy is an ass and a fool, and it is a prating coxcomb, is it meet, think you, that we should also, look you, be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb in your own conscience now?
I will speak lower.
I pray you and beseech you that you will.
Though it appear a little out of fashion, this is much care and valor in this Welshman.
Brother John Bates, is not that the morning which breaks yonder?
Well, I think it be, but we have no great cause to desire the approach of day.
We see yonder the beginning of the day, but I think we shall never see the end of it. Who goes there?
A friend.
Under what captain serve you?
Under Sir John Eppingraham.
Good commander, most kind gentleman. I pray you, what thinks he of our estate?
Even his men rocked upon a sand that looked to be washed off the next tide.
He hath not told his thought to the king.
No, it is not meet he should. For though I speak it to you, I think the king is but a man as I am. The violet smells to him as it doth to me. The element shews to him as it doth to me. All his senses have but humane conditions. His ceremonies laid by, and his nakedness he appears but a man. And though his affections are higher mounted than ours, yet when they stoop with the like wing. Therefore, when he sees reason of fears, as we do, his fears, out of doubt, be of the same relish as ours are. Yet in reason no man should possess him with any appearance of fear, lest he, by shewing it, should dishearten his army.
Well, he may show what outward courage he will, but I believe, as cold a night it is, he could wish himself in Thames up to the neck. So I would he were, and I by him at all adventures. So we were quit here.
By my troth, I will speak my conscience of the king. I think he would not wish himself anywhere but where he is.
Well, then I would he were here alone. So should he be sure to be ransomed, and a many poor men's lives saved.
I dare say you love him not so ill to wish him here alone. Howsoever you speak this field to other men's minds, and methinks I could not die anywhere were so contented as in the king's company. His cause being just, and his quarrel honourable.
That's more than we know.
Well, aye, or more than we should seek after. For we know enough, if we knew we are the king's subjects. If his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime of it out of us.
But if the cause be not good, the king himself hath a heavy reckoning to make, when all the legs and arms and heads chopped off in battle shall join together at that later day.
And cry all, we died at such a place. Some swearing, some crying for a surgeon, some upon their wives left poor behind them, some upon the debts they owe, some upon their children rawly left. I'm afeard there are few die well that die in battle. For how can they charitably dispose of anything when blood is their argument? Now, if these men do not die well, will be a black matter for the king that led them to it, who to disobey were against all proportion of subject.
So if a sin that is by his father sent about merchandise do sinfully miscarry upon the sea, the imputation of his wickedness by your rule should be imposed upon his father that sent him. Or if a servant under his master's command, transporting a sum of money, be assailed by robbers and die in many irreconciled iniquities, you may call the business of the master the author of the servant's damnation, but this is not so. The king is not bound to answer the particular endings of his soldiers, the father of his son, nor the master of his servant, for they purpose not their death when they purpose their services. Besides, there is no king, be his cause never so spotless, if it come to the aberratment of swords, can tire it out with all unspotted soldiers. Some pre-adventure have on them the guilt of premeditated and contrived murder. Some, if beguiling virgins, on the broken seals of perjury. Some making the wares their bulwark, and that have before gored the gentle bosom of peace with pillage and robbery. Now, if these men have defeated the law and outrun native punishment, though they can outstrip men, they have no wings to fly from God. War is beetle, war is his vengeance, so that men are punished for before breach of the king's laws, and now the king's quarrel. Where they feared the death, they have borne life away, and where they would be safe, they perish. Then if they die unprovided, no more is the king guilty of their damnation than he was before guilty of those impieties, for the which they are now visited. Every subject's duty is the king's, but every subject's soul is his own. Therefore, should every soldier in the wars do as every sick man in his bed, wash every moth out of his conscience, and dying so, death is to him advantage. For not dying, the time was blessedly lost wherein such preparation was gained. And in him that escapes, it were not sin to think that making God so free an offer, he let him outlive that day to see his greatness and to teach others how they should prepare.
'Tis certain, every man that dies ill, the ill upon his own head. The king is not the answer for it.
I do not desire he should answer for me, and yet I determined to fight lustily for him.
I myself heard the king say he would not be ransomed.
Aye, he said so, to make us fight cheerfully. But when our throats are cut, he may be ransomed, and we ne'er the wiser.
If I live to see it, I will never trust his word after.
You pay him then. There's a perilous shot out of an elder gun that a poor and private displeasure can do against a monarch. You may as well go about to turn the sun to ice, with fanning his face with a peacock's feather. You'll never trust his word after. Ha! Come, there's a foolish saying.
You reproof is something too round. I should be angry with you if the time were convenient.
Let it be a quarrel between us, if you live.
I embrace it.
How shall I know you again?
Give me a gage of thine, and I will wear it in my bonnet. And if ever thou darest acknowledge it, I will make it my quarrel.
Here's my glove. Give me another of thine.
There.
Right. This will I also wear in my cap. If thou ever comes to me and say after tomorrow, this is my glove, by this hand, I will take thee a box on the ears.
If ever I live to see it, I will challenge it.
Thou darest as well be hanged.
Well, I will do it, though I take thee in the king's company.
Keep thy word. Fare thee well.
Be friends, you English fools, be friends. We have French quarrels enough. If you could tell how to reckon.
Indeed, the French may lay 20 French crowns to one, they will beat us, for they bear them on their shoulders. But it is no English treason to cut French crowns, and tomorrow the king himself will be a clipper. Upon the king let us our lives, our souls, our debts, our careful wives, our children, and our sins lay on the king. We must bear all our hard condition, twin-born with greatness, subject to the breath of every fool, whose sense no more can feel but his own ringing. One infinite heart's ease must kings neglect, that private men enjoy. What have kings that privates have not too, save ceremonies, save general ceremony? And what art thou, that idle ceremony? What kind of God art thou, that sufferest more of mortal griefs than do thy worshippers? What are thy rents? What are thy comings in? Oh, ceremony, show me but thy worth. What? Is it thy soul of adoration? Or thou art else but place, degree, and form, creating awe and fear in other men? When thou art less happy being feared than they are in fearing? What drinkest thou oft instead of homage sweet, but poison flattery? Oh, be sick, great greatness, and bid thy ceremony give thee cure. Think'st thou the fiery fever will go out with titles blown from adulation? Will it give place to flexure and low bending? Canst thou, when thou commandest the beggar's knee, command the health of it? No, thou proud dream, that playest so subtly with a king's repose. I am a king that find thee, and I know 'tis not the balm, the scepter, and the ball, the sword, the maze, the crown imperial, the entered tissued robe of gold and pearl, the false title running for the king, the throne he sits on, nor the tide of pomp that beats upon the high shore of this world. No, not all these. Thrice gorgeous ceremony, not all these laid in bed majestical, can sleep so soundly as the wretched slave, who with a bloody filled and vacant mind gets him to unrest crammed with distressful bread, never sees horrid night, the child of hell, but like a lackey from the rise to set, sweats in the eye of Phoebus, and all night sleep in Elysium. Next day after dawn doth rise and help Hippo to his horse, and follows so that every running year with profitable labor to his grave. And but for ceremony, such a wretch, winding up days with toil and nights with sleep, had the forehand advantage of a king. The slave, a member of the courteous peace, enjoys it, but engross brain little wots what watch the king keeps to maintain the peace, whose horrors the peasant best advantages.
My lord, your nobles, jealous of your absence, seek through the camp to find you.
Good old knight, collect them all together at my tent. I'll be there before thee.
I shall do it, my lord.
O God of battles, steel my soldier's heart, possess them not with fear. Take from them now the sense of reckoning of the opposed numbers. Pluck their hearts from them. Not today, O Lord, oh, not today. Think not upon the fault my father made in compassing the crown. I, Richard's body, have interred new, and on it have bestowed more contrite tears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I have built 2 chauntries, where the sad and solemn priest sings still for Richard's soul. More will I do, though all that I can do is nothing worth, since my penitence comes after all, imploring pardon.
My liege!
My brother Gloucester's voice? I know thy errand, I will go with thee. The day, my friend, and all things stay for me.
The sun doth gild our armor up, my lords.
Montez la cheval, my horse, Varley, lackey, ha!
Oh, brave spirit.
Vie, les eaux et la terre.
Rien puis l'air et few.
Ciel, cousin Orleans. Now, my lord constable.
Hark our steeds for present service, nay.
Mount them, and make incision in their hides, that their hot blood may spin in English eyes, and doubt them with superfluous courage. Ha!
What, will you have them weep our horses' blood? How shall we then behold their natural tears?
Push our embattled, you French peers.
To horse, you gallant princes, straight to horse. Do but behold yon poor and starved band, and your fair show shall suck away their souls, leaving them but the shales and husks of men. There is not work enough for all our hands, scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins to give each naked curtleax a stain, that our French gallants shall today draw out, and sheathe for lack of sport. Let us but blow on them, the vapor of our valor will o'erturn them. 'Tis positive against all exceptions, lords, that our superfluous lackeys and our peasants, who in unnecessary actions swarm about our spurs of bataille, were enough to purge this field of such a hilding foe. Though we upon this mountain's base espy took stand for idle speculation, but that our honors must not. What's to say? A very little let us do, and all is done. Then let the trumpet sound, the tucket sonance, and the note to mount, for our approach so much dare the field, that England shall couch down in fear and yield.
Why do you stay so long, my lords of France? Yond island carrions, desperate of their bones, ill-favoredly become the morning field. Their ragged curtains poorly are let loose, and our air shakes them poor passing scornfully. Big Mars seems bankrupt in their beggared host, and faintly through a rusty bever peeps. The horsemen sit like fixed candlesticks with porch staves in their hands, and their poor jades lob down their heads, dropping the hides and hips, the gum down roping from their pale dead eyes, and in their pale dull mouths the dim old bit lies foul with chawed grass, still and motionless. And their executors, the knavish crows, fly o'er them all, impatient for the hour. Description cannot suit itself in word to demonstrate the life of such a battle. In life so lifeless, as it shows itself.
They have said their prayers, and they stay for death.
Shall we go send them dinners and fresh suits, and give their fasting horses provender, and after go fight with them?
I stay but for my guard. On to the field. I will the banner from a trumpet take, and use it for my haste. Come away. The sun is high, and we outwear the day.
Ha!
Where is the king?
The king himself is rode to view their battle.
Of fighting men they have full 70,000.
There's 5 to 1, besides they are all fresh.
God's arms strike with us. 'Tis a fearful odds. Goodbye, you princes all. I'll to my charge. If we no more meet till we meet in heaven, then joyfully my noble lord of Bedford, my dear lord of Gloucester, and my good lord of Exeter, and my kind kinsmen, warriors all, adieu.
Farewell, good Salisbury, and good luck go with thee. And yet I do thee wrong to mind thee of it, for thou art framed of the firm truth of valor.
Farewell, kind lord. Fight valiantly today.
He is as full of valor as of kindness, princely in both.
Oh, that we now had here but 1/10,000 of those men in England that do no work today.
What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We will not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispin. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispin. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is Saint Crispin. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars. Old men forget, yet shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. The story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. But he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England, now abed, shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
My sovereign lord, bestow yourself with speed. The French are bravely in their battle set, and will with all expedience charge on us.
All things are ready if our minds be so.
Perish the man whose mind is backward now.
Thou doest not wish more help from England, cause?
God's will, my liege, would you and I alone without more help could fight this royal battle.
Why now thou hast unwished 5,000 men, which likes me better than to wish us one. You know your places. God be with you all.
Once more I come to know of thee, King Harry, if for thy ransom thou wilt now compound. Before thy most assured overthrow, for certainly thou art so near the gulf, thou needs must be englutted. Besides, in mercy, the constable desires thee, thou wilt mind thy followers of repentance, that their souls may make a peaceful and sweet retire from off these fields, where wretches their poor bodies must lie and fester.
Who has sent thee now?
The constable of France.
I pray thee bear my former answer back. Bid them achieve me, and then sell my bones. Good God, why should they mock poor fellows thus? The man that once did sell the lion's skin while the beast lived was killed with hunting him. Many of our bodies shall no doubt find native graves, upon the which I trust shall witness live in brass of this day's work. And those that leave their valiant bones in France, dying like men, though buried in your dunghills, they shall be famed. For there the sun shall greet them, and draw their honors reeking up to heaven, leaving their earthly parts to choke your clime. The smell whereof shall breed a plague in France. Mark then abounding valor in our English. that being dead, like to the bullets crashing, break out into the second course of mischief, killing a relapse of mortality. Let me speak proudly. Tell the constable we are but warriors for the working day. Our great gayness and our guilt are all besmirked with rain marching in the painful field. There's not a piece of feather in our host. Good argument, I hope, we will not fly. And time hath worn us into slovenry. But by the mass, our hearts are in the trim. And my poor soldiers tell me, yet ere not night, they'll be in the fresher robes, or they'll pluck the gay new coats o'er the French soldiers' heads and turn them out of service. If they do this, as if God please, they shall. My ransom then will soon be levied. Herald, say thou thy labor. Come thou no more for ransom, gentle herald. They shall have none, I swear by these my joints. What if they have, as I will leave them, shall ye them little, tell the constable.
I shall, King Harry, and so fare thee well. Thou shalt never hear herald more.
I fear thou wilt once more come again for a ransom.
My lord, most humbly on my knee, I beg the leading of the vanguard.
Take it, brave York. Now soldiers march away, and how thou pleasest God, dispose the day.
Yield, cur.
Je pense que vous êtes un gentilhomme de bonne qualité.
Quality, how me could stormy? Art thou a gentleman? What is thy name? Discuss.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu. Oh, I should be a gentleman. Perpend my words, oh, Seigneur Dieu, and mark. No, Seigneur Dieu, thou diest on point of fox, except, oh, Seigneur, thou do give to me egregious ransom.
Oh, prenne miséricorde et pitié de moi.
Moi shall not serve. I will have 40 mois, where I will fetch thy renown at thy throat in drops of crimson blood.
Il est pas impossible d'échapper de force à mon bras.
Brass, cur? No, thou damned and luxurious mountain goat, offerest me brass?
Oh, pardon-moi.
Sayest thou me so? Is that a ton of moss? Come, hire boy, ask me this slave in French what is his name.
Écoutez, comment êtes-vous appelé?
Monsieur Humfrey.
He says his name is Mr. Fur.
Master Fur, huh? Now I'll fur him and fit him and fairer him. Now discuss the same in French unto him.
I do not know the French for fur and fairish and furk.
Bid him prepare, for I will cut his throat.
Que dit-il, monsieur?
Il me commande à vous dire que vous faites-vous prest. Presse soldat ici disposé tout astre gorge.
Oh, couple of gorge, permafoy, peasant, unless thou give me crowns, brave crowns, or mangled shalt thou be by this my sword.
Oh, j'y vous appelez pour l'amour de le Dieu. Oh, pardonnez, je suis le gentilhomme de bonne maison. Garde ma vie, je vous donnerai 200 écus.
What are his words?
He prays you save his life. He's a gentleman of good house, and for his ransom he will give you 200 crowns.
Tell him my fury shall abate, and I the crowns will take.
Petit monsieur, que dit-il?
Encore, quel est contre son jurement de pardonner aucun prisonnier? Non pour les coups que vous l'êtes promis. Il est content à vous donner la liberté et le franchissement.
Oh, mais je vous donne mes remerciements et je m'estime que je tombe entre les mains de chevalier, je pense. Le plus brave, valiant et très distinct seigneur d'Angleterre.
Expound it to me, boy.
He gives you upon his knees 1,000 thanks, and he esteems himself happy that he hath fallen into the hands of one, as he thinks, the most brave, valorous, and thrice worthy seigneurs of England.
As I suck blood, I will some mercy show. Follow me.
Sauvez-vous, le grand capitaine. I did never know such full a voice issue from such empty a heart. But the saying is true. The empty vessel makes the greatest sound. Bardolfe and Nym had 10 times more valor than this roaring divelith play that everyone may pare his nails with a wooden dagger, and they are both hanged. And so would this be, if he durst steal anything adventurously. I must stay with the lackeys with the luggage of our camp. The French might have a good prey of us. If he knew of it, there is none to guard it but boys.
Oh, diable!
Oh, Seigneur, le jeu est perdu et tu l'es perdu.
Morte ma vie, all is confounded, all. Reproach and everlasting shame sits mocking in our plumes. Oh, merchant fortuné, do not run away.
Why, all our ranks are broke.
Perdurable shame. Let's stab ourselves. Be these the wretches that we played at dice for?
Or is this the king we sent to for his ransom?
Shame and eternal shame, nothing but shame. Let us die in honor, once more back again. And he that will not follow Bourbon now, let him go hence and with his cap in hand, like a base pander, hold the chamber door, whilst by a slave, no gentler than my dog, his fairest daughter is contaminated.
Disorder that hath spoiled us, friend us now. Let us on heaps go offer up our lives.
We are now yet living in the field to smother up the English in our throngs, if any order might be thought upon.
The devil take order now. All to the throng. Let life be short, self-same will be too long.
Well, have we done, thrice valiant countrymen? But all's not done, yet keep the French the field.
The Duke of York commends him to your majesty.
Lives he good, uncle? Lives he good, uncle? Thrice within this hour I saw him down, thrice up again and fighting, from helmet to the spur, all blood he was.
In which array, brave soldier, doth he lie, larding the plain, and by his bloody side, yoke fellow to his honor owing wounds. The noble Earl of Suffolk also lies. Suffolk first died, and York all haggled over comes to him, where in gore he laid, ensteeped, and takes him by the beard, kisses the gashes that bloodily did yawn upon his face. He cries aloud, "Tarry, my cousin Suffolk. My soul shall thine keep company to heaven. Tarry, sweet soul, for mine, then fly abreast, as in this glorious and well-foughten field we kept together in our chivalry." Upon these words I came and cheered him up. He smiled me in the face, wrought me his hand, and with feeble gripe says, "Dear my lord, commend my service to my sovereign." So did he turn, and over Suffolk's neck he threw his wounded arm and kissed his lips, and so espoused to death with blood he sealed a testament of noble ending love. The pretty and sweet manner of it forced those waters from me, which I would have stopped, but I had not so much of man in me, and all my mother came into mine eyes and gave me up to tears.
I blame you not. For hearing this, I must perforce compound with mixful eyes, or they will issue too. But hark, what a new alarm is this same. The French have reinforced their scattered men. Then every soldier kill his prisoners. Give the word through.
Kill the boys on the luggage. It is expressly against the law of arms. It is an arrant piece of knavery, mark you now, as can be offered in your conscience now, is it not?
'Tis certain. There's not a boy left alive, and the cowardly rascals that ran from the battle have done the slaughter. Besides, they have burned and carried away all that was in the king's tent, wherefore the king most worthily hath caused every soldier to cut his prisoner's throat. Oh, 'tis a gallant king.
Aye, he was born in Monmouth, like me. Captain Gower, what call you the town's names where Alexander the Pig was born?
Alexander the Great.
Why, I pray you, is not a pig great? The pig? Oh, the great, or the mighty, or the huge, or the magnanimous are all one reckoning, save the phrase, the little variations.
I think Alexander the Great was born in Macedon. His father was called Philip of Macedon, as I take it.
I think it is in Macedon where Alexander is born. I tell you, Captain, if you look in the maps of the world, I warrant you shall find the comparisons between Macedon and Monmouth, that the situations, look you, is both alike. There is a river in Macedon, and there is there's also, moreover, a river in Monmouth. It is called Wye at Monmouth. But it is out of my brains what is the name of the other river. But it is all one. It is like as my fingers are to my fingers, and there is salmons in both. If you mark Alexander's life well, Harry of Monmouth's life is like to come after it indifferent well, for there is figures in all things. Alexander, God knows, and you know, in his rages and his furies and his wrath and his choler and his moods and his displeasures and his indignations, and also being a little intoxicate in his brains, did in his ales and his angers, look you, kill his best friend, Clytus.
King is not like him in that he never killed any of his friends.
Ah, it is not well done, mark you now, to take tales out of my mouth ere it is made and finished. I speak but in the figures and the comparisons of it. I speak but in the figures and the comparisons of it. And Alexander killed his friend Clytus, being in his ales and his cups. Also Harry of Monmouth, being in his right wits and his good judgments, turned away the fat knight with his great belly doublet. He was full of jests and jibes and knaveries and mocks and I forget his name.
Sir John Falstaff.
Aye, that is he. I'll tell you, there is good men born at Monmouth.
Here comes His Majesty.
Oh.
I was not angry since I came to France until this instant. Take a trumpet, herald. Ride thou unto the horsemen unto yon hill. If they will fight with us, bid them come down or void the field. They do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we will come to them and make their scare away as swift as stones and forced from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, we'll cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them that we shall take shall taste our mercy. Go! Tell them so!
Here comes the herald of the French, my liege.
His eyes are humbler than they used to be.
How now? What means the herald? Knowst thou not that I have fined these bones of mine for ransom? Canst thou again for ransom?
No, great king, I come to thee for charitable license, that we may wander o'er this bloody field to book our dead, and then to bury them, to sort our nobles from the common men. For many of our princes, woe the while, lie drowned and soaked in mercenary blood. So do our vulgar drench the peasant limbs in blood of princes, and with wounded steeds fret fetlock deep in gore, and with wild rage yerk out their armed heels at their dead masters, killing them twice. Oh, give us leave, great king, to view the field in safety and dispose of their dead bodies.
I tell thee truly, herald, I know not if the day be ours or no, but yet a many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field.
The day is yours.
Praise be God, and not our strength for it. What is this Calais called that stands hard by?
They call it Agincourt.
Then call we this the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispin Crispianus.
Your grandfather of famous memory, and please your majesty, and your great uncle Edward the Black Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France.
They did, Llewellyn.
Your majesty says very true. If your majesty is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in the garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which your majesty knows to this hour is an honourable badge of the service. And I do believe that your majesty takes no scorn to wear a leek upon St. David's Day.
I wear it for a memorable honour, for I am Welsh, you know, good countryman.
Oh, the water in Wye cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body. I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it as long as it pleases his grace and his majesty too.
Thanks, good my countryman.
By Jesu, I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who knows it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not be ashamed of your majesty. Praise be God, so long as your majesty is an honest man.
Good keep me so. Heralds, go with them. Bring me just notice of all the numbers dead on both our parts. Call yonder fellow hither.
Soldier, you must come to the king.
Soldier! Why wearest thou the glove in thy cap?
And please your majesty, 'tis the gage of one that I should fight withal, if he be alive.
An Englishman?
And please your majesty, a rascal that swaggered with me last night, who, if alive, and ever dare to challenge this glove, I have sworn to take him a box of the ear. Or if can see my glove in his cap, which he swore as he was a soldier he would wear, if alive, I will strike it out soundly.
What think you, Captain Llewellyn? Is it fit this soldier keep his oath?
He is a craven and a villain else, and please your majesty, in my conscience.
It may be his enemy is a gentleman of great sort, quite from the answer of his degree.
Though he be as good a gentleman as the devil is, as Lucifer and Beelzebub himself, it is necessary, look your grace, that he keep his vow and his oath. If he be perjured, see you now, his reputation is as arrant a villain and a jack sauce as ever his black shoe trod upon God's ground, and his earth in my conscience, law.
Then keep thy vow, sirrah, when thou meetest the fellow.
So I will, my liege, as I live.
Who servest thou under?
Under Captain Gower, my liege.
Gower is a good captain, and is good knowledge and a literature in the wars.
Call him hither to me, soldier.
I will, my liege.
Here, Llewellyn, wear thou this favour for me, and stick it in thy cap. When Alanson and myself were down together, I plucked this glove from his helm. If any man challenge this, he is a friend to Alison, and an enemy to our person. If thou encounter any such, apprehend him, and thou dost me love.
Oh, your grace does me as great honours as can be desired in the hearts of his subjects. I would fain see that man that has but 2 legs that shall find himself aggrieved at this glove. That's all. But I would fain see it once, and please God of his grace that I might see it.
Knowest thou Gower?
He is my dear friend, and please you.
Pray thee go seek him and bring him to my tent.
I will fetch him.
My lord of Warwick and my brother Gloucester, follow Llewellyn closely at the heels. The glove which I have given him for a favour may haply purchase him a box of the ear. It is the soldier's. I by bargain should wear it myself. Follow good cousin Warwick, if that the soldier strike him, as I judge by his blunt bearing, you will keep his word. From some sudden mischief may arise of it, for I do know Llewellyn valiant and touched with choler, hot as gunpowder, and quickly will return an injury. Follow, and see there be no harm between them. Go you with me, uncle of Exeter.
I warrant it's to knight you, captain.
God will and his pleasure, captain. I beseech you now, come apace to the king. There is more good towards you peradventure than is in your knowledge to dream of.
Sir, know you this glove?
Know the glove? I know the glove is a glove.
I know this, and thus I challenge it.
God's blood, that is an arrant traitor, and as any as in universal world, or in France, or in England.
How now, sir, you villain?
You think I'll be forsworn?
Stand away, Captain Gower. I will give treason his payment in blows, I warrant you.
I am no traitor.
That's a lie in the throat. I charge you in his Majesty's name. Apprehend him. He's a friend of the Duke Alençon's.
How now? What's the matter?
My lord of Warwick, here is, praise be God for it, the most contagious treason come to light. Look you, as you shall desire in a summer's day. Here is his Majesty.
How now? What's the matter?
My liege, here is a villain and a traitor that, look your grace, has struck the glove which your Majesty is taken at the helmet of Alençon.
My liege, this was my glove. Here is the fellow of it, and he that I gave it to in charge promised to wear it in his cap. I promised to strike him if he did. I met this man with my glove in his cap, and I have been as good as my word.
Your Majesty here now, saving your Majesty's manhood. What an arrant, rascally, beggarly, lowly knave it is. I hope your Majesty is bearing me testament and witness, and will avouchment that this is the glove of Alençon, and that your Majesty is give me in your conscience now.
Give me thy glove, soldier. Look here, is the fellow of it. 'Tis I indeed thou promised to strike, and thou hast given me most bitter terms.
And please your Majesty, let his neck answer for it if there be any martial law in the world.
How canst thou make me satisfaction?
All offences, my lord, come from the heart. Never came from mine that might offend your Majesty.
It was all self that didst abuse?
Your Majesty came not like yourself. You appeared to me but as a common man. Witness the night, your garments, your lowliness, and what your highness suffered under that shape. I beseech you, take it for your own fault and not mine. For had you been as I took you for, I made no offense. Therefore, I beseech your highness, pardon me.
Here, Uncle Exeter, fill this glove with crowns and give it to this fellow. Keep it, fellow, and wear it for an honor in thy cap, till I do challenge it. Give him the crowns, and captain, you must needs be friends with him.
By this day and this light, the fellow has metal enough in his belly. Hold, there's a 12 for you, and I pray you serve God and keep you out of brawls and troubles and quarrels and dissensions, and I warrant you it is a better for you.
I will none of your money.
It is with good will. I can tell you it will serve you to mend your shoes. Come, wherefore should you be so bashful? Your shoes is not so good. 'Tis a shilling, I warrant you, or I will change it.
Now are all of the dead numbered.
Here is the number of slaughtered French.
What prisoners of good sort are taken, uncle?
Charles, Duke of Orleans, nephew to the king, John, Duke of Bourbon, and or Beauquisseau. Of other lords and barons, knights and squires, full 1,500, besides common men.
This note doth tell me of 10,000 French that in the field lie slain. Of princes in this number and nobles bearing banners, there lie dead 126. Added to these of knights, esquires, and gallant gentlemen, 8,400. Of the which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights. So that in these 10,000 they have lost, there are but 1,600 mercenaries. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. The names of those their nobles there lie dead: Charles de la Breth, High Constable of France; Jacques of Jetelion, Admiral of France; the Master of the Crossbows, Lord Rambiers; Great Master of France, the brave Sir Guichard d'Affon; John, Duke of Alençon; Anthony, Duke of Brambrant, the brother to the Duke of Burgundy; and Edward, Duke of Bar, of lusty Earls; Grandpré and Rosé, Falconbridge and Foy, Beaumont and Marle, Vaudemont and Lestrade. Here was a royal fellowship of death. What is the number of our English dead? Edward, the Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Keltley, David Gam Esquire, none else of name, and of all other men but 25. Oh God, Thy arm was here. And not to us, but to thy arm alone ascribe we all. When without stratagem, but in plain shock and even play of battile, was ever known so great and little loss? On one part and on the other, take it, God, for it is none but thine.
'Tis wonderful.
Come, go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host to boast of this, or take that praise from God which is his only.
Is it not lawful unto please your majesty to tell how many is killed?
Yes, Captain, but with this acknowledgement what God fought for us.
Yes, in my conscience, he did us great good.
Do we all holy rites. Let there be sung non nubius and te deum, the death with chartry enclosed in clay. And then to Calais and to England then, where near from France arrived more happy men.
Nay, that's right. But why wear you your leek today? St. David's Day is past.
There is occasions and causes why and wherefore in all things. I will tell you, as my friend Captain Gower, the rascally scold, beggarly, lousy, bragging knave, pistol, which you and yourself and all the world know to be no better than a fellow, look you now, of no merits. He is come to me and brings me bread and salt yesterday, look you, and bid me eat my leek. It was in a place where I could not breed no contention with him, but I will be so bold as to wear it in my cap till I see him once again, and then I will tell him little piece of my desires.
Why, here he comes, swelling like a turkey cock.
It is no matter for his swellings, nor his turkey cocks. God bless you, ancient pistol, you scurvy, lousy knave, God bless you.
Art thou bedlam? Dost thou thirst, base Trojan, to have me fold up Parker's fatal web? Hence, I am qualmish at the smell of leek.
And I beseech you heartily, scurvy, lousy knave, at my desires, at my request, and at my petitions, to eat, look you, this leek. Because, look you, you do not love it, nor your affections, nor your appetite, and your digestions does not agree with it. I would desire you to eat it.
Not for Cadwallader and all his goats.
There's one goat for you.
Oh.
Will you be so good, scold knave, as to eat it?
Base Trojan, thou shalt die.
You say very true, scold knave, when God's will is. I will desire you to live in the meantime and eat your victuals. Come, there is sauce for it. You called me yesterday mountain squire, but I will make you today a squire of low degree. I pray you fall to. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek.
Enough, Captain, you have astonished him.
I say I will make him eat some part of my leek, or I will beat his pate 4 days. But I pray you, it is good for your green wound and your bloody coxcomb.
Must I bite?
Yes, certainly, and out of doubt and out of question too, and ambiguities.
By this leek, I will most horribly revenge. Eat and eat, I swear.
Eat, pray you. Will you have some more sauce by to your leek? There's not enough leeks to swear by.
Quiet, I cudgel. Thou dost see if I eat.
Much good do you scold, knave, heartily. Nay, I pray you throw none away. The skin is good for your broken coxcomb. And when you take occasions to see leeks hereafter, I pray you mock at them. That is all.
Good.
Aye, leeks is good. Hold you. There is a groat to heal your pate.
Me, a groat?
Yes, verily. And in truth you shall take it, or I have another leek in my pocket which you shall eat.
I take my groat in earnest of revenge.
If I owe you anything, I will pay you in cudgels. You be a woodmonger, but nothing made of me but cudgels. God buy you and keep you, and heal your pate.
All hell shall stir for this.
Go, go, you're a counterfeit, cowardly knave. Will you mock at an ancient tradition began upon an honorable respect and worn as a memorable trophy of predeceased valor, and dare not avouch in your deeds any of your words? I have seen you greeting and galling at this gentleman twice or thrice. You thought because he could not speak English in the native garb, he could not therefore handle an English cudgel. You find it otherwise, and henceforth let a Welsh correction teach you a good English condition. Fare thee well.
Doth fortune play the housewife with me now? News have I that my doll is dead in the spittle of a malady in France, and there my rendezvous is quite cut off. Old I do wax, and from my weary limbs honor is cudgeled. Well, bawd I'll turn, and something lean to a cut-purse of quick hand. To England will I still steal, and there I'll steal, and patches will I get unto these cudgel scars, and swear I got them in the Gallia wars.
Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story that I may prompt them, and of such as have, I humbly pray them to admit the excuse of time, of numbers, and due course of things which cannot in their huge and proper life be here presented. Now we bear the king toward Calais. Grant him there. There seen, heave him away upon your winged thoughts athwart the sea. Behold the English beach, pales in the flood with men, wives, and boys, whose shouts and claps outvoice the deep-mouthed sea, which like a mighty whiffler for the king seems to prepare his way. So let him land, and sullenly see him set on to London. So swift a pace hath thought that even now you may imagine him upon Blackheath, where that his lords desire him to have borne his bruised helmet and his bended sword before him through the city. He forbids it, being free from vainness and self-glorious pride, giving full trophy, signal, and ostent quite from himself to God. But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how London doth pour out her citizens. The mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of antique Rome, with the plebeians swarming at their heels, go forth and fetch their conquering Caesar in. As by a lower but by loving likelihood, were now the general of our gracious empress, as in good time he may from Ireland coming, bringing rebellion, broach it on his sword. How many would the peaceful city quit to welcome him? Much more, and much more cause did they this harry. Now in London place him. As yet the lamentation of the French invites the King of England stay at home. The emperor's coming in behalf of France to order peace between them, and omit all the occurrences whatever chance till Harry's back return again to France. There must we bring him, and myself have played the interim of remembering you 'tis past. Then brook abridgment, and your eyes advance, after your thoughts straight back again to France.
Peace to this meeting wherefore are we met, unto our brother France, and to our sister health and fair time of day. Joy and good wishes to our most fair and princely cousin Catherine, and as a branch and member of this royalty by whom this great assembly is contrived. We do salute you, and princes French and peers, health to you all.
Right joyous are we to behold your face, most worthy brother England, fairly met. So are you princes English, every one.
So happy be the issue, brother Ireland, of this good day and of this gracious meeting, as we are now glad to behold your eyes which hitherto have borne in them against the French that met them in their bent the fatal balls of murdering basilisks. The venom of such looks we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that this day shall change all griefs and quarrels into love.
Cry amen to that, thus we appear.
You English princes all, I do salute you. My duty to you both on equal love, great kings of France and England, that I have labored with all my wits, my pains, and strong endeavors to bring your most imperial majesties unto this bar and royal interview, your mightiness on both parts best can witness. Since then my office hath so far prevailed that face to face and royal eye to eye you have congreted, let it not disgrace me if I demand before this royal view what rub or what impediment there is why that the naked, poor, and mangled peace, dear nurse of arts, beauties, and joyful births, should not in this best garden of the world, our fertile France, put up her lovely visage. Alas, she hath from France too long been chased, and all her husbandry doth lie on heaps, corrupting in its own fertility. Her vine, the merry cheerer of the heart, unpruned dies. Her hedges, even pleached, like prisoners, wildly overgrown with hair, put forth disordered twigs. Her fallow leaves, the darnel, hemlock, and rank cemetery doth root upon, while that the culture rusts that should deracinate such savagery. The even mead, that erst brought sweetly forth the freckled cowslip, burnet, and green clover, wanting the scythe, withal uncorrected, rank, conceives by idleness, and nothing teems but hateful docks, rough thistles, kexes, burrs, losing both beauty and utility. And all our vineyards, fallows, meads, and hedges, defective in their natures, grow to wildness. Even so our houses and ourselves and children have lost, or do not learn for want of time, the sciences that should become our country, but grow like savages, as soldiers will, that nothing do but meditate on blood, to swearing and stern looks, diffused attire, and everything that seems unnatural, which to reduce into our former favor, you are assembled. And my speech entreats that I may know the let, why gentle peace should not expel these inconveniences and bless us with her former qualities.
If you would the peace whose want gives growth to the imperfections which you have cited, you must buy that peace with full accord to all our just demands, whose tenures and particular effects you have scheduled briefly in your hands.
The king hath heard them, to the which as yet there is no answer made.
Well then, the peace which you before so urged lies in his answer.
I have but with a cursory eye o'erglanced the articles. Please your grace to appoint some of your council presently to sit with us once more, with better heed to resurvey them. We will suddenly pass our accept and peremptory answer.
Brother, we shall. Go, Uncle Exeter, and Brother Clarence, and you, Brother Gloucester, Warwick, and Hunting. Go with the king, and take with you free power to ratify, augment, or alter as your wisdoms best shall see advantageable for our dignity. Anything in or out of our demands, and will consign thereto. Will you, fair sister, go with the princes and stay here with us?
Our gracious brother, I will go with them. Happily a woman's voice may do some good when articles too nicely urged be stood on.
Yet leave our cousin Catherine here with us. She is our capital demand, compromised within the full rank of our articles.
She hath good leave.
Fair Catherine, at most fair will you vouchsafe to teach a soldier terms such as will enter at a lady's ear, and plead his love suit to her gentle heart?
Your Majesty shall mock at me. I cannot speak your England.
Oh, fair Catherine, if you will love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonne-moi, I cannot tell that what is like me.
An angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel.
Que dit-il? Que je suis semblable à les anges?
Oui, vraiment, sauf votre grâce, ainsi dit-il.
I said so, dear Catherine. I must not blush to affirm it.
Oh bon Dieu, les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperies.
What says she, fair one, that the tongues of men are full of deceit?
Oui, that the tongues of the men to be full of deceit. That is the princess.
The princess is the better Englishwoman? Faith, Kate, my wooing is fit for thy understanding. I am glad thou canst speak no better English, for if thou couldst, thou wouldst find me such a plain king, that thou wouldst think I had sold my farm to buy my crown. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you. Then if you urge me further, then to say, do you in faith? I wear out my suit. Give me your answer, faith do, and so clap hands, a bargain. How say you, lady?
So votre honneur, me understand well.
Marry, if you would put me to verses, or to dance for your sake, Kate, why you undid me, for the one I have neither words nor measure, and for the other I have no strength in measure, yet a reasonable measure in strength. If I could win a lady at leapfrog, or by vaulting unto my saddle with my armor on my back, under the correction of bragging be it spoken, I should quickly leap into a wife. Or if I might buffet for my love, or bound my horse for her favors, I could lay on like a butcher, and sit like a jackanapes, never off. But before God, Kate, I cannot look greenly, nor gasp out my eloquence, nor I have no cunning in protestation. Only downright oaths, which I never use, still urge, never break for urging. If thou canst love a fellow of this temper, Kate, whose face is not worth sunburning, that never looks in his glass, for love anything he sees there, let thine eye be thy cook. I speak to thee plain, soldier. If thou canst love me for this, take me. If not, to say to thee that I shall die is true. But if for thy love, by the L, no. Yet I love thee too. And while thou livest, dear Kate, take a fellow of plain and concoid constancy, for he perforce must do thee right, because he hath not the gift to woo in other places. For these fellows of infinite tongue that can rhyme themselves into ladies' favors, they do always reason themselves out again. What? A speaker is but a prater, a rhyme is but a ballad, a good leg will fall, a straight back will stoop, a black beard will turn white, a curled pate will grow bald, a fair face will wither, a full eye will wax hollow. But a good heart, Kate, is the sun and the moon, or rather the sun and not the moon, for it shines bright and never changes, but keeps his course truly. If thou would have such a one, take me, and take me, take a soldier, take a king! And what sayest thou then to my love? Speak, my fair and fairly, I pray thee.
Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France?
No. It is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate. But in loving me, you should love the friend of France. For I love France so well that I will not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine, and Kate with France is mine, and I am yours. Then yours is France, and you are mine.
I cannot tell what is that.
No, Kate? I will tell thee in French, which I am sure will hang upon my tongue, like a new married wife about her husband's neck, hardly to be shook off. Je compte sur les possessions de France, à convoy vers la possession de moi. Let me see, what then, St. Denis be my speed? Dont vestre et France in vos estamions. It is easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom as to speak so much more French. I shall never move thee in the French unless it be to laugh at me.
Sauf votre honneur, le François que vous parlez, il est mieux que l'anglois lequel je le parle.
No, faith is not, Kate. But thy speaking of my tongue and I thine most truly falsely must needs be granted to be much at one. But Kate, doest thou understand thus much English? Canst thou love me?
I cannot tell.
Can any of your neighbors tell, Kate? I'll ask them. Come, I know thou lovest me, and me at night, when you come into your closet, you'll question this gentlewoman about me. And I know, Kate, you will tell her dispraise those parts in me, and that you love with your heart. But good Kate, mock me mercifully, the rather gentle princess, because I love thee cruelly. If ever thou best mine, Kate, as I have a saving faith within me tells me thou shalt. I get thee with scambling, and thou must therefore needs prove a good soldier breeder. Shall not thou and I between St. Denis and St. George compound a boy, half French, half English, that shall go to Constantinople and take the Turk by the beard, shall we not? What sayest thou, my fair flower de luce?
I do not know that.
No, 'tis hereafter to know, but now to promise. But do but now promise, Kate, you will endeavor for your French part of such a boy, and for my English moiety, take the world of a king and a bachelor. How answer you? Le plus bel cateron de monde mon cher y devons desser.
Your Majesty avait false French enough to deceive the most sage demoiselle that is en France.
No, fie upon my false French, by mine honor is in true English. I love thee, Kate. By which honor I dare not swear thou lovest me, yet my blood begins to flatter me that thou doest, notwithstanding the poor and untempering effect of my visage. Now beshrew my father's ambition. He was thinking of civil wars when he got me, therefore I was created with a stubborn outside, with an aspect of iron, and when I come to woo ladies, I fright them. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that ill layer up of beauty can do no more spoil upon my face. Thou hast me if thou hast me, at the worst, and thou shalt wear me if thou wear me, better and better. And therefore tell me, most fair Cateron, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avouch the thoughts of your heart, and with the looks of an empress, take me by the hand and say, Harry of England, I am thine. Which words thou shalt no sooner bless mine ear with all, but I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Henry Plantagenet is thine. Who, though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with his best king, I shall find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer, in broken music, for thy voice is music and thy broken English. Therefore, Queen of all Catherine, break thy mind to me in broken English. Wilt thou have me?
That is as it shall please de Roy, mon père.
Nay, it will please him well, Kate. It shall please him, Kate.
Then it shall also content me.
Upon that I kiss your hand and I call you my queen.
Laisse, monseigneur, laisse, ma foi, je ne vois point que vous abaissez votre grandeur en baisant la main d'une autre seigneur, un digne serviteur. Excuse-moi, je vous supplie, mon très puissant seigneur.
Then I will kiss your lips, Kate.
Les dames et demoiselles, pour être baisées devant leur auspice, il n'est pas le coutume en France.
Madame, my interpreter, what says she?
That is not to be the fashion for the ladies of France. I cannot tell what is buis en English.
To kiss.
Your Majesty entendra better que moi.
It is not a fashion for the maids in France to kiss before they are married, would she say?
Oui, vraiment.
Oh, Kate, nice customs curtsy to great kings. Dear Kate, you and I cannot be confined within the weak list of country's fashion. We are the makers of manners, Kate, and the liberty that follows our places stops the mouth of all fine faults, as I will do yours for upholding the nice fashion of your country and denying me a kiss. Therefore, patiently and yielding. You have witchcraft in your lips, Kate. There is more eloquence in a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. Here comes your father.
God save your Majesty, my royal cousin. Teach you our Princess English.
I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English.
Is she not apt?
Our tongue is rough, cousin, my conditions is not smooth, so that having neither the voice nor the heart of flattery about me, I cannot so conjure up the spirit of love in her that he will appear in his true likeness.
Pardon the frankness of my mirth if I answer you for that. If you would conjure in her, you must make a circle. If conjure up love in her in his true likeness, he must appear naked and blind. How can you blame her then, being a maid, yet rosed over with the virgin crimson of modesty, if she deny the appearance of a naked blind boy in her naked seeing self? It were, my lord, a hard condition for a maid to consign to.
Yet they do wink and yield as love is blinded and forces.
They are then excused, my lord, when they see not what they have done.
Then, good my lord, teach your cousin to consent winking.
I will wink on her to consent, my lord, if you will teach her to know my meaning. For maids well summered and warm kept are like flies at Bartholomew tide, blind though they have their eyes, and then they will endure handling, which before would not abide looking on.
This morale ties me over to time and a hot summer, and so I shall catch the fly, your cousin, in the latter end, and she must be blind to.
As love is, my lord, before it loves.
It is so. And you may some of you thank love for my blindness, who cannot see many a fair French city for one fair French maid that stands in my way.
Yes, yes, my lord, you see them prospectively. The city's turned into a maid, for they are all girdled with maidens' walls that war hath entered.
Shall Kate be my wife? I am content. So the maiden cities you talk of may wait on her. So the maid that stood in the way for my wish shall show me the way to my will.
We have consented to all terms of reason.
It's so, my lords of England.
The king hath granted every article, his daughter first, and in sequel all, according to their firm proposed natures.
Only he hath not yet subscribed this. For your majesty demands that the King of France, having any occasion to write for matter of grant, shall name your highness in this form and with this addition in French, notre très fils Henri, roi d'Angleterre, héritier de France, and thus in Latin, Preclarissimus filius noster Henricus, rex Angelae et eris Franciae.
Nor this have I not, brother, so denied, but your request shall make me let it pass.
I pray you then, in love and dear alliance, let that one article rank with the rest, and thereupon give me your daughter.
Son, and from her blood raise up issue to me, that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with envy of each other's happiness, may cease their hatred, and this dear conjunction plant neighborhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France.
Amen.
Amen.
Now welcome, Kate, and bear me witness all, that here I kiss her as my sovereign queen.
God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your hearts in one, your realms in one. As man and wife being two are one in love, so be there twixt your kingdoms such a spousal, that never may ill office or fell jealousy, which troubles oft the bed of blessed marriage, thrust in between the paction of these kingdoms to make divorce of their incorporate league. That English may as French, Englishmen receive each other. God speak this, amen.
Amen.
Prepare we for our marriage, on which day my lord of Burke will take your oath, and all the peers for sure tie of our leagues. Then shall I swear to King, Kate, and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be.
Thus far with rough and all unable pen, our bending author hath pursued the story.
You're muted, Catherine.
Jusqu'ici, d'un stylo rude et tout-puissant, notre auteur courbé a poursuivi son histoire.
In little room, confining mighty men, mangling by starts the full course of their glory.
En un chiche espace confinant des hommes puissants, amochant au passage la pleine course de leur gloire.
Small time, but in that small, most greatly lived this star of England.
Brève période, mais où fort grandement vécu cet astre d'Angleterre.
Fortune made his sword, by which the world's best garden he achieved, and of it left his son imperial lord.
La fortune avait forgé l'épée avec laquelle il conquit les plus beaux jardins de l'univers, dont il laissa son fils le maître souverain.
Henry VI, in infant bands crowned king of France and England, did this king succeed.
Henri VI, couronné dans les langes de l'enfance, roi de France et de l'Angleterre, monta après lui sur le trône.
Whose state so many had the managing that they lost France and made his England bleed.
Mais tant de mains embrassèrent les rênes de son gouvernement qu'elles laissèrent échapper la France et firent couler le sang de l'Angleterre.
Which oft our stage hath shown, and for their sake in your fair minds let this acceptance take.
Nous vous avons souvent offert ces tableaux sur notre théâtre. Daignez donc faire à celui-ci un accueil favorable.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an ending. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you all. Great job, everybody. Really very well done. Thank you. We did
And we zipped through it in 3¼ hours.
Yes. Very good.
And I so apologize for the dogs. Someone rang the bell, which normally doesn't happen, and they were barking like crazy. I apologize.
You mean you let slip the dogs of war?
Not at all. I just think, one thing that should be said, we're all doing readings. We're all trying our best. I took on a role with an accent, with no preparation. And everybody I thought did well. But Marie Christine, I'm sorry, you really need to work on your French accent.
Well, you see, the problem is that she's actually not French. That's why you detected that, because she is a Swiss lady.
I'm Swiss.
Well, I didn't want to say anything,
Thank all those of you who also came to attend. I'm promoting all of the attendees to panelists in case they have anything they want to share about this or other things. But thank you all. This is really great.
Goodbye, all. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Okay. Until the next time.
Merci.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Stephen, so much.
Thank you, Paul and Stephen.
Au revoir.